I was wondering what would happen if you were forced to switch to an iPhone for a week.
Okay.
And in that week, you only use an iPhone without your phone.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I would take your phone away so you couldn't use it. At the end of the week, if you don't like it, you just give it back.
Okay.
If you like it, you keep it.
That was a big drawback for me. Because then it wasn't like, it took me a couple days to like, first I had to install all the apps and get logged into everything, and that was obnoxious.
Yes.
And so after like 3 days of that, I was like, you know what? It's off.
Are the iPhone 13 series of phones good enough to get someone to switch from Android to iOS? You see, a couple of years ago, back when the 11 Pro Max came out, I switched from Android to iOS and found myself in a very slippery slope of enjoying not only iPhones, but the Apple ecosystem. And I just wondered, since the iPhone 13 series of phones are definitely the best ones that have ever come out from Apple, are they good enough? And can they do it in a very short amount of time? So I decided to find someone who was an Android user / lover and essentially force them to use an iPhone for an entire week and not use their phone at all. And they didn't even know they were going to do it. Now, these are extreme circumstances. Is there any way possible that after 1 week of using an iPhone, they'll actually switch over? I gotta be honest, I went into this thing not knowing anything and really having no expectations other than to make a video that I hope you guys and girls enjoy. So if you like the concept, hit that subscribe button if you're new, hit the like button if you're not, and let's find out what happens when you try to make an Android user use an iPhone 13 for an entire week. We're gonna find out right after this.
This is, you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Now, I'm here to try something that I haven't done ever before. I've actually done other things with my friends, like taking AirTags and following my friend around and kind of stalking him for 24 hours. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description below. But today I'm going to try something completely different. I'm surprising my friend with a new phone, an iPhone 13. But here's the catch. He's an Android user, and I don't believe he's actually ever used an iPhone before. I'm going to give it to him for a week. He's going to use it, and hopefully by the end of the week, he converts. If he doesn't, I guess I get an iPhone I don't need back. Oh, and he doesn't know this is going to happen at all. He has no idea. He just knows he's going to be in a YouTube video, but that's it. He has no idea that this is about to happen. So the question is, after having an iPhone for a week, will he switch? The one thing that is in my advantage right now is the fact that his wife is already an iPhone user. I believe this might be the thing to help push him over the edge. But regardless, he doesn't have to keep it. So anyway, let's go drop the phone off to him. Here we go. Okay. All right, cool. So this is Nelson and Erica, my two good friends. I've known them for years and years and years.
Hello.
And they always have been super supportive of me, and I wanted to try something kind of fun this week. What's your current phone?
I have a Samsung Note 9.
Which I believe you got the same time I got mine, right? You've been pretty much like a long-time Android user for a long time, right? Okay. Yep. And you have an iPhone, correct?
Yeah.
So you're a mixed iOS / Android family, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering what would happen if you were forced to switch to an iPhone for a week.
Okay.
And in that week, you only use an iPhone without your phone.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I would take your phone away so you couldn't use it.
Okay.
And then at the end of the week, if you liked it, of course, you'd let me know. If you don't like it, you would let me know. So, here's what I've done.
Cool.
The new iPhone 13 for you to use for an entire week. So, you are going to transfer all of your stuff over, and for the week, only use the iPhone. Every single night, you will do a little journal of a minute to a minute and a half video on here, so that at the end, I can get that and kind of take a look at it. On Wednesday, we'll do a FaceTime call, like a midweek kind of, how are you guys doing? What do you think?
Okay.
And then at the end of the week, if you don't like it, you just give it back.
Okay.
If you like it, you keep it.
Wow. I think this is awesome. Yeah. I'll give it a shot.
All right, well, let's start setting it up. Let's go ahead and
Wow.
put her in there, and we'll see what's what. So we got the black because I didn't know what color you would like, so.
I think black looks great.
And there's a screen protector already on it. This is the leather Apple case, if you want to grab that out. And then go ahead and turn her on. And
Exciting. This is kind of the ultimate challenge.
Yeah, you know, I think this is probably one of the only ways that I would give it a shot. Is, you know,
if you didn't have to pay for it, right?
Well, yeah.
well, yeah. And
I'm just curious.
It has a little bit of a challenge,
But you've
you
held
know.
up for years.
I have.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is like, you know, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, like that shouldn't be that hard.
It's gonna be that hard. Well, that's the thing. I want to know, like, what are the things you maybe miss from Android? What are the things you like about iOS? And like, there's no holding back. Like, it's your entire experience. So that's one of the Apple cases. One of their nicer leather cases.
It's a really nice case.
Now, what we're gonna do is there's a way to transfer over like your everything onto the iPhone from your Android phone.
One fell swoop.
So also, I got some the MagSafe charger and everything. I'll tell everyone about that in the video. We're going to go ahead and set up his phone, and then we'll go through a quick kind of walkthrough with him, and then we'll go away for a week and see what happens. All right, we're still doing some moving over of files and such, but okay, Nelson, tell me, what are you thinking about this adventure so far? Are you nervous? What's going on?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. I'm excited. I mean, I've been an Android user since I had a smartphone, and so I'm nervous to try it out to see how it goes, but also really excited.
What do you think you'll miss most about your Note?
I think the thing that I'll miss most is just how familiar I am with it. Like, I know how to do pretty much anything I want to do on it, and I know how to get anywhere or get to any app, and so I think that's going to be the hardest thing. Is like figuring out this new operating system, and so yeah, but I'm excited to try it out.
Now, after leaving there, I got to tell you, I was a little bit nervous. Kind of excited because I've known Nelson for a long time, and he's a great sport. But I also know that he's going to be very critical of this experience. And as someone who's really only ever used Android, I just knew that he's one of the hard case scenarios if he was going to convert. Really, the only thing that was working to my advantage, like I said before, was the fact that his wife has an iPhone. So I had him make these journals so that after every day, he could give his thoughts about what was going on. So let's watch a couple of those, and I'll tell you what I think.
This is my first evening video. I've had the phone today since I got it from Travis. I tried using the Move My Android app, like Move to iPhone. Anyways, I downloaded it onto my Galaxy Note 9. I, paired the two phones, selected what I wanted to transfer over, and like my Galaxy Note 9 would like look like it was processing. It would like, the wheel would spin, and then it would just like close. Tried it like 3 or 4 times. And I never could actually get it to transfer stuff over to the iPhone. So that wasn't super encouraging. So I decided to just forge ahead, and I just set up the iPhone. So we walked around a bunch. I took some photos with the iPhone that I really liked. I do like portrait mode. That was actually really cool to see how easy it was to take really good photos. I'm getting my Gmail all set up, or my Google account's all set up, so I've got that imported over. So we'll go ahead and see how Apple handles Google's Google accounts. But yeah, that's kind of my first day. A little bit of a hiccup, but we'll see how it goes from here.
So when I was there, we were trying to transfer over the files from his Android phone over to his iPhone using this Switch app that Apple talks about on their website. And I got to tell you, it did not go well. And this is the thing, like, this is the first kind of impression he gets from Apple, and rightfully so. He was disappointed. And you got to think about all the other people out there that tried to move their data over from Android to iOS. Now, it could be that he had a bunch of pictures and stuff, but you also have to realize that a lot of people are going to have a lot of pictures and apps and data. And if it's going to have issues along the way, you're just making the transition seem painful and make people not enjoy the iPhone. Although the first day was a little bumpy. Let's see what happened the second day.
So day 2 of using an iPhone went better than the first. I mean, there was still a little bit of a hiccup around logging into apps that required 2-factor authentication. I use Microsoft's Authenticator app, and from what I found online, and from trying it myself, there's no easy way to like back it up on an Android and restore it on an iPhone. You can back it up on the Android and restore it onto another Android. You can back it up on the iPhone and restore it to another iPhone. But making that switch, you basically have to have both, both phones. That was a little bit of a little frustrating. But now that it's like set up, I've got all my, two-factor authentication in the Microsoft Authenticator app on my iPhone. I'm like, okay, that it's a little bit of a hassle up front, but not too bad. Other than that, though, I mean, it's been really, it's been easy. I was a little worried that I'd be forced onto the, Apple ecosystem, but I was able to download all my Gmail, all my Google apps and log into them, and I've got all my Google passwords, and so autofill is, working. Occasionally I'll go to autofill and I'll select, my Google one. It'll look for a password connected and then it'll just it'll go up the screen and then back down. I think that's just kind of the hassles of a new phone, right? And we'll see. Maybe that gets easier. That could be a big one if I have to if the Chrome password, and if you have LastPass or something like that, that won't be a problem. But for me, I'm lazy. Messaging is fun. FaceTime is pretty cool. Just the fact that most of my family and friends have iPhones makes FaceTime way better than any other, video calling. I had Duo on Google, and no one has Duo, really. Or you have to tell them to get it. Whereas if they have an iPhone, they've got FaceTime. So that was a nice feature.
Now, as day 2 talks about two-factor authentication. Number 1, you should all have two-factor authentication on everything that needs a password. And this is a good point, something I didn't know. I also use an authenticator program that I can back up to the cloud. When I switch iPhones, it's never a problem, but I had never had to do it between Android and iOS. So this was an interesting kind of edge case that I was not aware of. Definitely causes hassles. And you think about if you were locked out of a bunch of programs and apps. So that can definitely cause an issue. So these issues of going from Android to iOS seem to be kind of problematic. And I think Apple really needs to look at these, as they seem to be the biggest kind of obstacle to get into the Apple ecosystem. But once you're in iOS and once you're using an iPhone, things start to change. And as you can hear, he talks a little bit about things like FaceTime and iMessage and how they change his perspective.
My end of day 3 of having an iPhone. Today, did some FaceTime with some friends, and that was pretty awesome. I gotta say, it just makes it so much easier to do video calls. On my Android, I had Google Duo, but it doesn't comes standard on every single Android, and so it's kind of hit and miss whether someone's going to have it. It's not quite as just universal as FaceTime is. Every iPhone has it just pre-installed, ready to go, and so that was actually really convenient. My nieces and nephews introduced me to Game Pigeon, which are games you can play through texting, and that's kind of a fun way to stay in contact, and have some fun stuff to do with, nieces and nephews. So those are both really fun aspects of the iPhone that I didn't see. FaceTime is a big highlight. It's actually really cool, the fact that it's just standard on iPhones, because I love seeing people that I'm talking to. And so yeah, that's kind of my, day 3. I'm not running into any issues with it, all my accounts are up, and so using it as just a regular old cell phone. The switchover has been, at this point, pretty much done, and it works great. And having those little added features it's really nice.
So I decided in the middle of the week to have a FaceTime call with Nelson and kind of catch up with all the things that that we talked about. So we'll go ahead and watch a lot of that right now, and then also right after, his next day journal talks about the call we had and his change of perspective of some of the questions that I brought up and what he thought of them afterwards. Tell me about it. So far, what have been the good things, the bad things, just about 3.5 days in?
So let's see here. I would say the bad things were getting set up.
Yes.
It was a little bit of a hassle to get set up on the iPhone.
Okay.
Move Android.
Did you lose out on anything? In other words, Are there anything that you had to leave behind on the Android that you couldn't bring over?
Well, because I didn't have because the app wasn't working, the move to iPhone app wasn't working.
Mhm.
I did lose a couple contacts
Okay.
that I hadn't saved to my Google account,
Okay.
and also all of my text messages.
Oh, that hurts.
So any group messages I had, I have to wait till someone else responds. I have to go in and add it, manually. And now that I've got all set up, it's working great.
Okay, so I know you're not like a hardcore user of your phone or anything, but what type of things have you noticed different between the two? Anything that's harder, easier, or surprising, or anything like that?
So I would say that it is easier to do video calls. FaceTime is fantastic.
It's kind of hard to not love, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and it's awesome that it comes like just standard
Mhm.
on all iPhones.
Mhm.
On my Android, I had Google Duo,
Mhm.
which was a voice chat, but it doesn't come standard on the phones.
Right.
You have to like tell the person to download it, which that can be a hassle.
Mhm.
So FaceTime has been awesome. I would say I tried around with Apple Music,
Mhm.
and it's fun. It's
Sure.
got it's got good music and all that kind of stuff, and I've enjoyed like being able to hold on the message and then react to it, and
Right.
it doesn't message to everyone that's like so and so like this thing.
Yeah, because on Android, you don't know what that means. You just see like so and so liked
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, you just see the text, and I was like, okay. I mean, I just thought that everyone got that message,
Yeah.
which I guess they did. But if everyone's on iMessage, you don't get that message.
Right.
You just emojis.
Yeah.
That was something that was pretty cool to see. Like, oh,
That's what it means.
I can just and it's nice. It's nice to be able to like if you're texting with someone, like texting my brother. If he makes a comment and I don't really don't want to respond, but I don't want to just leave it hanging, I just give him a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Like respond and keep the message going. So that's been pretty cool.
What has surprised you? Has there been anything that surprised you about just kind of using the phone at all, good or bad? Like, has there been any good surprises or bad surprises?
I have been surprised at the quality of like video
Mhm.
and camera, like picture. And I don't know what it is, because from what I've anytime I've had an Android phone, like they've all had great cameras.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I've never been able to get the same quality of pictures out of an Android as I've gotten out of an iPhone.
Right.
And I think, so whatever Apple's doing there, it's working, because the pictures are like crisper. They're more in focus, and so that has surprised me. I've heard people talk about it, but to actually experience that firsthand, I was like, okay.
Now you get it.
They didn't miss on this. Like, that was fantastic. It was amazing to me how quick I was able to just pick it up.
I was going to ask you, because you were worried about not knowing how to use it.
Yeah, I mean, like within hours of like starting to use the iPhone, I just was swiping up to like dismiss the app I was in. Like, just the gestures just came so naturally that it was just like I was using it fine.
Yeah.
Within that first day, and navigating it no problems. And so that really blew me away, because I was ready to be like, oh man,
right,
this is gonna take some time to get used to. But that was really cool, just how intuitive it was.
So what are you missing right now from Android? Like, what's the one thing that you miss, or from your, even if it's specifically to your Galaxy Note, what do you miss?
My FaceTime call with Travis yesterday, and it was really good. And as I was kind of reflecting on it, one of the questions he asked, he was like, "Is there anything you miss about your Android?" And as I was trying out the iPhone this week, I was coming at it from this like place of like, it's a cell phone, like. And I was looking at like, well, I mean, is it doing anything spectacular that that my phone didn't do? And there are a few things like, iMessage is cool, FaceTime is cool, But I was like, the rest of it, it just kind of works like like an Android. It just kind of works like my phone. And so when he kind of flipped the script and made me think about it like, hey, is there anything about your Android that you miss, that you wish you had on this phone? And when he made me look at it through that lens, I realized that there really wasn't. I mean, now that it's all set up, there wasn't a lot that I missed about it. And those small little benefits of, having FaceTime, being able to FaceTime, family, those are the things that I was like, those are really awesome. And so if you hold all else the same, if I'm using this, if I'm using the iPhone and it's the same experience as my Android for the most part, but then it has those two positive aspects to it, then it's a better phone in my opinion. And so that was a really interesting realization and an interesting way to look at it. As before I was kind of framing it as like, is this, doing anything my Android doesn't do? But then I was like, oh, is there anything I miss? And I had to be honest, there wasn't much.
Isn't it interesting when you stop comparing one to the other that the actual experience of iOS and an iPhone actually ends up becoming more favorable? And over time, you kind of get used to it because it does the things that you need it to do and it does them well. And this is something I've talked about in videos all the time. At the end of the day, I think that I started to believe around this point after that FaceTime call that he might actually switch. I actually was feeling like this might actually happen. And this is surprising because if you know Nelson, this is not something he would have done on his own. When I do videos like this, when I'm trying to challenge Apple products or anything to do something different than what they're supposed to, it's always interesting to see what happens at the end. But right now, in this point of the video and where I was, I felt like he might actually switch, which is no less than a minor miracle, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, I gotta say, AirDrop is pretty slick. I was trying to get someone's contact information because when I moved my phone over, or when I switched phones, not all my contacts came over. And so I was talking to my wife and I was like, hey, do you have this person's information? And she just like airdropped it to me. And it was like not a hassle. And I know people get like texting a contact now is like way easier than it used to be, but I mean, the airdrop, it was just like, it just popped up and it was like, hey, do you want to add this contact? And I was like, sure. And it made it a super slick, super smooth process. And I also found that like adding contacts from, other apps is really easy. So being able to have AirDrop, being able to just smoothly transfer stuff from phone to phone, that was actually a really cool surprise. Android has those features you can use. I mean, I think Samsung has Beam, or Android has those features, but it's not innately enabled on phones. It's not enabled on devices, and so it does make it so that you're like, oh yeah, let's do this, and then you have to like explain it to the person how to do it. Whereas AirDrop, it seems like it's a lot more seamless. We're looking at Apple TV to see, what we wanted to watch tonight. And I gotta say, so we have a Chromecast hooked up that we project, like we'll cast our stuff to. And so I'm trying out Apple TV Plus, just to see, because it's a cool feature of the iPhone. And we go ahead and we pick the show we want to watch, and I go to see if I can Chromecast it, and no option to Chromecast it. So I do a quick search, and apparently on an iPhone or an iPad, Apple TV only allows you to AirPlay. You can't actually Chromecast from your iPhone or iPad. So that was a little lame, I'll be honest, because I don't have a strong desire to get an Apple TV, connection for my projector or for my TV. I don't want to have to plug another thing in so that I can watch Apple TV Plus stuff on there. So that was a little let down. Ultimately, I mean, I guess that just means if I decide to go with the iPhone, I just won't use Apple TV Plus because I don't really have a desire to get a new box to hook up to my stuff.
Now, this ends up becoming a really big issue because Nelson actually likes to stream and cast a lot of his video content. So this could have been a deal breaker. I didn't actually know this was happening at the time. It wasn't until I sat down and he told me about it. And I actually got worried because it made sense. As much as he casts, if you can't cast stuff, or it's difficult in any way, he might be out. So it comes to the day where I go to find out exactly what's going to happen. And I gotta be honest, I was a little nervous. I thought maybe he was going to switch, but then I noticed something on the way in that really changed my mind. Let's get into the video and I'll explain what I'm talking about.
All right, I'm back and I got to find out what happened all week. Nelson's had the phone all week. Will he convert? I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I made sure he didn't tell me anything. So literally I'm going to find out at the same time as you guys and gals. Let's see what happens.
Hey guys!
Hey.
And we're back 1 week later.
Yeah.
1 week.
Hey.
The test is concluded. It's been 1 week.
It's been 1 week.
So before we get into the good and the bad, did you have fun?
It was awesome. It was a lot of fun to try it out.
Yeah.
You know, it was fun telling people about the challenge. You know, as people were asking, like, you know, family or
So
friends were
many
like, "Wait,
people.
you got an iPhone?"
Yeah.
Being like, "Well, you know, I'm trying it out for a week. My buddy challenged me," and they all thought it was a really cool idea, like challenging someone to try a new phone.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
Okay, so tell us the 3 things you liked about the experience and the phone itself.
Okay, so the 3 things I really liked about it. Number 1, how intuitive it was to get used to it. I mean, within a week, I feel like it just is second nature to like open up apps, switch between apps, go to where I want. I mean, it was very easy to get it set up. Number 2, I think that the ecosystem is fantastic. The fact that, you know, FaceTime is on all iPhones. I can FaceTime my nieces and nephews. I can FaceTime friends. Like, that was really cool. And then number 3 would just be how easy it is to take great pictures or video. You know, I was
beautiful.
blown away with just, and I don't necessarily think that it has to do with the camera because I've had great cameras before. They just, I don't know, there's something about it where they either have, you know, the technology or the program that it takes a picture and it knows how to make it easy so that someone who isn't like a, you know, expert photographer can still take really good pictures.
What about the things you didn't like or things that you struggled with?
So let's see here. Number 1, getting it set up took a little bit. Not having the, you know, iPhone, like move to iOS app work, that was a big drawback for me. Because then it wasn't like, it took me a couple days to like, you know, first I had to install all the apps and get logged into everything. And then I, you know, realized, oh, I need my authenticator and I need to move that over. And you know, finding that I was missing some contacts was also kind of just, every time I found a missing contact, it reminded me that, oh, that didn't work. Number 2 is, you know, I've got an Android, right? And I've got Chromecast and Apple TV Plus, or, you know, their thing doesn't work with Chromecast from the iPhone. That said, Netflix, Hulu, all those things still work with Chromecast. So it's really just Apple's very own thing that I would either have to go without and be like, well, I just won't pay for it. And that means Apple's missing out. Oh, this was one. So I actually uninstalled Apple Music.
Oh.
Yep. I just completely deleted it because every time I started my car, it would automatically start playing Apple Music. Now, if I was listening to something else, it would play that. But if I was not listening to anything and I started my car, it would automatically open up Apple Music and start playing. And that was obnoxious.
Yes.
And so after like 3 days of that, I was like, you know what? It's off. You know, I'd even tried the subscription. Like, I even tried Apple Music Plus or whatever it is, because I was like, okay, let's see if I can make this work. And I was like, it's not even worth it. Like, if I get in the car and I'm not playing music, I don't want to start playing music. So those were probably my top 3.
So you've got the experience of being a longtime Android user, and now you've actually dipped your toe in iOS. With all that being said, Nelson,
After 1 week of being on an iPhone, after being a lifetime Android user, will you switch?
Okay, he's about ready to tell us what's going on, but let me tell you what's going through my mind at this moment. I'm pretty certain he's not going to switch, and I'll tell you why. When I walked in, I noticed something on the kitchen table which kind of disturbed me, which was all of the Apple stuff that I had given him back in the bag, packaged up, as if he's ready to give it back to me. So while I don't necessarily have an attachment to whether or not he switches, I was kind of nervous that maybe this had failed, and maybe it happened in the last second or so. Like, what happened? Like, everything seemed like it was going well. Why would he package it at the end? Did he feel guilty about getting an iPhone? Or maybe he didn't like something that he wasn't saying in the journals? I didn't know. So this is what happened.
Will you switch?
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Yep.
Incredible!
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
Are you shocked by your own admission of this?
So shocked. I was like
years.
I'm like, I'll try it out, but and even till yesterday with the Chromecast, realization I couldn't Chromecast, I was like, well, because I was leading iPhone, and I was like, well, maybe, kind of pushed me back towards Android, but we used it today to take some really fun pictures while we were hiking. And FaceTiming and I was like, it's just like the stuff that I'm using for every day. It just knocks it out of the park, and that's what I want. I want a phone that knocks it out of the park on the stuff that I'm going to be doing every day, because that's what I care about.
That's incredible. I was actually nervous there for a second. I didn't know what was going to happen. Honestly, I'll even be honest. When I walked in and I saw that the stuff was boxed up over there, I'm like, oh no, he's not going to go. And I'm like, oh no.
Well, I had a ton of fun on this challenge. I'm glad that, you enabled me to do this. Like, this was fantastic.
I don't think you would have done it any other way.
Yeah.
No, probably not. I don't think I'd have taken the initiative to make
no
the plunge and, try it out.
All right, so you finally agreed to go all iPhone, which means you have to hand me your Android phone and never use it again. Say goodbye.
I will miss you. You were a great phone.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Gone forever.
So crazy enough, it came down to some of the things that iPhone did well that pushed them across the finish line. The one thing that really could have actually stopped him was the fact that he loves to cast things. So a very interesting thing that could have tripped him up. So here it is, his Galaxy Note 9, and here's the box it's going to get shipped in to trade in to Apple. Now, this was an incredibly fun experiment for me, and I learned a lot about iOS and Apple and how it slowly but surely converts people into liking their products. And listen, here's the thing. Doesn't mean Android's any worse than iOS or anything like that. I'm not here to prove anything about that. But it's an interesting test that Apple is really good at what they do, and they really pay attention to the things that matter. It's not the specs, and it's not the cool gimmicks. It's the things that matter most to people in their everyday life. This has been super fun, and I actually have some other ideas for concepts just like this. So if this video does well, you guys keep hitting that like button and that subscribe button, I might have some other ideas in the future. Anyway, if you like this, make sure you watch the video that I took an AirTag and I basically spied on my best friend for an entire day. And I'll see you next time. Peace and love. With all that being said, as an incredible Apple lover of all things Apple, if the opportunity came to you to switch to Android, would you do it? And we're back. I'm here with Rob. I'm so excited because for all the times that we've done these videos, I've been doing it with people that are the average consumer. But Rob is actually one of the people that's just like you. He watches tech YouTube videos. He loves tech. He's completely ingrained into the Apple ecosystem. So the challenge today is to see if we can take the absolute flagship from Samsung, give it to an Apple fan, and see what happens. Rob, thank you so much for taking part of this.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited and also a little hesitant about it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I am very ingrained in that Apple ecosystem, as you can tell. So I think this is going to be kind of an interesting challenge to see the other side of things. But yeah, I mean, I've got some concerns and questions. We'll see how it goes.
So I think you told me when we DM'd a while back that you really haven't had any real exposure to Android. Tell me about that.
Android came out, didn't really interest me all that much. But eventually I got an iPod, and that ended up being what kind of got me thinking about Apple. And I'm like, hey, it would be really cool if this were a phone. So then I got an iPhone, and it just kind of spiraled from there.
What is the best thing about being in the Apple ecosystem, would you say, if someone has never been a part of it? Like, what is the thing that you love the most?
I'd say probably the fact that everything is everywhere. Like, whatever device I happen to be using in that moment, all my stuff is there, just automatically. So if I'm working on my work laptop, which is, a MacBook Air, and all my text messages are right here. And if I switch over to my phone, because I need to go out and run an errand, it's all right there. Or if I'm in the living room where I happen to be on my iPad most of the time, it's all right there. Everything is synchronized. I don't ever need to think about it. It's all where I need it, and it all works together.
All right, cool. Yeah, which is, you have the iPhone 13 Pro Max, right?
Yeah, I do.
So it's really legitimately the latest and greatest versus the latest and greatest. And to be clear, like, really what this whole series is about isn't so much like which one is better. It's taking someone who's been, exposed to one thing and just exposing them to something different and kind of sharing their feelings about it. So let me ask you, I mean, obviously you've been happy with what you've been doing. Why are you even open to this?
Kind of as you mentioned, I am a tech enthusiast. I've kind of felt like there's been this whole other side of tech that I've really never experienced. Like, I've never had any experience to the Android platform other than occasionally helping my dad get things going on his phone because he's got one. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see that side of it. I'm a little scared because I have gotten so, let's use the word indoctrinated into the way that Apple does things that I think that change is going to be a little bit scary, but there's something exciting about that.
Is there something in particular that you're looking forward to in this entire thing? Because obviously there's things you're missing, but you're doing it because in some way you're like, I'm kind of curious as to what I'm missing out on. Is there something specifically maybe you heard of or even are aware of that's like, I actually can't wait to try that thing, whatever that is?
I often hear, oh, that's not new. Android's been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm really interested to see, I've been sticking with Apple because I firmly believe that once they roll something out, they've pretty much got it.
Yeah.
They usually don't roll out something that's half-baked. There are, of course, exceptions to that.
Yeah.
But I am interested to see, where is Android on the cutting edge right now? What are the things they're doing now that I'll find in my phone 3-4 years down the road, however long it takes, right? I think that's going to be the most interesting part of it. So yeah, that's going to be exciting for me.
There's a potential for you to have this longer than a week. Typically, I challenge people to have it for a week. I've actually challenged one other person to have it for 2 weeks. I'm interested in why you'd be willing to do that without even kind of getting into it, and why specifically. You've told me, but I love the idea behind this.
In a couple weeks, I'm going to be going down to Walt Disney World, maybe running a race down there. I'll have my Apple Watch to do my timing and things like that. But if I go down, I'm not bringing my laptop. I'm not bringing my iPad. I'm going to bring my phone. And if that phone isn't the one normally connected to my watch, if this is the thing that I have to live with for, the 5 days or so that I'll be down there, and, at Walt Disney World, you kind of have to have a phone, right? Everything is driven based on that experience now. If that's not working, if I can't rely on that, that's really going to be, for me, what determines whether or not I could move over to Android and kind of get out of the Apple ecosystem if I chose to do that. I think that's going to be the thing that's going to be really interesting for me, and again, a little bit scary. But that's the perspective that I haven't seen from a whole lot of people, is someone who throws their hat over the wall and now is forced to go get it, right? If I am absolutely forced to live with this thing as a daily driver, someplace that I'm not super familiar with and where I need it to be able to function down there, how is that going to go? All right, it's Rob again. I'm going to unbox the phone that Travis sent me. He's kind of told me what it is already, but he wants that unboxing experience for this, so I'm going to do my best. Here's the box. All right, so first oh boy, this is heavier than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I thought it was going to be pretty light. I'm kind of used to my iPhone at this point. It's certainly more top heavy than I would expect. I mean, it's just, it's such a large device. It's hanging out over the ends of my fingers a little bit. The 13 Pro Max is already kind of a big phone, but this is even taller than that in terms of aspect ratio. So that's going to take a little bit of getting used to. My hands are not terribly big, so if I'm holding it comfortably, I'm only about halfway up on the device here. So it just kind of feels like it's hanging loose off the end of my hand. Overall, first impressions, I mean, it is a really nice device. Like I said, a little bit heavier than maybe I was expecting. I don't know, what I was expecting necessarily. But yeah, it is really tall. I mean, you can kind of see that once the screen is kind of powered on there, that is a really tall screen, goes practically to the edges there. That's pretty impressive. It's interesting because, you know, the iPhone is using all of Samsung's panels anyway in there, and I'm so used to the wider bezels on that. Having something where the screen is going right to the edges of the phone is a pretty interesting first impression. Last night, which was Monday, was pretty rough. I felt like I was in a good spot to do that unboxing on Monday after, you know, spending the weekend making sure I have the critical stuff thought through. And I recorded the unboxing video and then started the process of getting all my stuff moved over to the new phone. And then the data sync failed. And that was because I had to restart in the middle while I was doing the eSIM transfer. And it said the eSIM transfer would take up to 2 hours when it should be instant, which was weird. So anyway, I set up what I could and then went to bed for the night, figuring it would be working in the morning. And I got woken up in the middle of the night by a couple of notification sounds on the Ultra at about 3 a.m. And apparently when you change the volume on the side, it doesn't change the volume for everything, just for some things, and notifications are separate. The notification has to be up before you change the volume on it. Really weird, but anyway, I couldn't get back to sleep after that, so I went to go see where I was at with the eSIM transfer, which was nowhere. I had to wait until my wife got up in the morning so I could call T-Mobile with her phone, get the information I needed on her phone since her phone was still working and authenticated to get the Ultra going. So no indication why that didn't work at first. I literally did the same steps that I did the previous time, just this time it happened to work. There's a possibility T-Mobile did something on their side that I'm not aware of, but all I know is after I got through with that phone call, we got it working. All right, so once I got done with that, I set up the data transfer again and got a few things moved over. I intentionally did not move over a bunch of the stuff that I had from previous iPhone upgrades. I mean, I've got years and years and years of old apps in there that I don't really use anymore or anything like that. I did make sure to include any app I was going to need over the next couple of weeks. Particularly since I'm going to be going on a trip to Walt Disney World. I want to make sure all my travel and all my Walt Disney apps are in there. But as I started moving everything over and getting all those apps reset up, I started running into the next bit that I apparently had not fully thought through, which is all my passwords and stuff are in my Apple keychain. And I'm so used to having it just automatically synced between all my devices that being prompted for passwords again. I had to figure out how to get those out of my keychain, get them moved over. It wasn't too bad, but it was definitely kind of a one-by-one process. That part of it wasn't too bad. The part that was really confusing, though, is that it seems to be random which of the multiple password managers on the Ultra are going to come up and request that I save that password based on where I am. It doesn't feel like there's any rhyme or reason to it. The Samsung one feels a little bit more finicky for whatever reason than the Google one does. So I'm kind of starting to lean more and more towards the Google side of things to make sure that I've got everything all in one place there that's more portable. There just seems to be a lot of redundancy on this device in particular. I do like that you can set your own default app for some services. I didn't know up until this point that you can use Facebook Messenger for SMS. That was an entirely new thing for me. I do need to still figure out if I'm going to disable iMessage. That was one of the warnings that came up, and I have noticed that when my wife texts me, I don't get it on my phone because it's going through iMessage. So if I want it to show up on the phone, I've got to disable it. But if I disable it, then it's not going to show up on my my laptop or my iPad or those sorts of things. So I do need to figure out which I'm going to prefer. As I start digging into this, hopefully the next update will feel a little bit more positive than this one, but that's where I'm at so far. All right, hi everyone, it's Friday, and I've been sitting with the S22 Ultra for about 3 days now, and it's more or less in a stable place. I'd say stable, not necessarily enjoyable, but at least I feel like I can live with where it is now. I have the apps on it I need for my upcoming trip. The stuff I use daily is more or less reliable, and I think I'm good to go. But talking about the notifications, the little counter on the apps that says how many things are in there waiting for me For whatever reason on this device, it doesn't change right away when I clear those things. I think it finally updated at some point overnight. Maybe there's some sort of timing interval or something that might be set to, or how often it pulls the service. I've gone back into those apps so many times to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Like, did another notification come in while I wasn't paying attention? I'm starting to wonder if that's the point. Like, if it's to increase my engagement with these apps. There's a certain level of trust here that I don't really have with Google or with Samsung, and I think that's crept into my thinking. And that may be why that I'm having that thought about whether or not this is like a nefarious thing. Are they trying to increase my engagement with that app for some reason? Is it about data collection? It's probably a setting I've missed or some sort of bug, but I shouldn't be thinking that. And I think it's just because I trust Apple more than I trust these other companies over the years that I've been working with them. But anyway, I mentioned that because I got a notification today that some of the apps I hadn't used regularly would go into deep sleep. And a warning came along with that it would potentially break some of these apps and I wouldn't get notifications. And that's kind of worrying because that's, again, not something I've ever had to worry about with my iPhone. Is one of the apps that I'm taking for granted that are going to send me these notifications not going to work when I need it to. And as I mentioned, I'm getting ready for a trip, and one of the apps that was in that list is Ring. I need to make sure that works when I'm traveling. That the phone is giving me any reason to be concerned that my apps might not work is not a feeling I want from a device that I'm relying on for that sort of thing. The last thing that's kind of occurred to me over the past few days is just how boring phones are now, and I am including my iPhone in that. The apps are mostly the same on both devices with some UI peculiarities and things like that. So much so that the device itself has become kind of meaningless. It's just a tool to get you into those apps. I wondered if I was alone, and I found a YouTube vid from someone else who did a similar switch, and I noticed he got a Galaxy Watch too. Which leads me to think that once you're kind of deep in this walled garden that these devices kind of create, you can't escape just by switching the core device. It's not really that easy. Being able to copy on one device and paste on another has been so ingrained at me at this point that I was struggling to understand why I couldn't paste passwords copied from my iPad to the S22 while I was going through that setup process. I had to do it, type everything in all in manually. So that said, end of next week, I'm going to be going to Walt Disney World, and the one thing I can say I'm excited about is to see how good the camera quality is. I'm not taking my iPhone with me on that trip at all. The S22 is going to be all I have, and I'm really optimistic that the pictures it takes will be great. I'm kind of excited to see.
So we're 1 week in from Rob going from his iPhone now to the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Quite the experience. Tell me a little bit about the first couple of days of you going from something that was so integrated into your life into something completely new and different.
Yeah, it's been rougher than I'd hoped it was gonna be.
Sure.
To be fair, I kind of anticipated a little bit of that, but it was still rougher than I thought.
Okay.
The big thing was just it's been so long since I switched to a different device and had like so many different other things that needed to change along with it, like the whole eSIM situation and getting that transferred over failed the first time. Getting the data moved over. They've got this really cool thing where you can literally just hook the two phones together with a lightning cable and it'll start transferring data, but that failed partway through because I was doing the eSIM transfer at the same time, which was a big mistake.
Gotcha.
So it was that first night was pretty rough. After that, once I kind of got all that stabilized and I got my kind of default apps that I need on there, things seem to have settled down. I think the weirdest thing for me, though, is that I'm using it more than I really used my phone. And part of that is because since I had an Apple Watch, I would get notifications on this, could quickly dismiss them, never had to touch my phone unless I really needed to interact with it.
Gotcha.
Since I don't have that going on, I'm picking up the phone more. I'm using it more. I'm doing the things I got the Apple Watch to help me prevent doing, right?
Gotcha.
If anything, it's kind of reminded me that these devices have all gotten to the point where they're all pretty darn good, and they're very similar in a lot of ways.
What would you
probably
say,
more than people would think.
What are the things that have surprised you in like a good way about being on what is right now Samsung's best phone?
Is kind of bezel-less in a way that Apple claims they are and really aren't.
Right.
That's been really interesting. The screen is really high quality. I ratcheted up the resolution, turned up the refresh rate on it, all that good stuff. It's eating the battery, as you can imagine.
Of course. course.
But it is a really good screen. You can see why Apple uses Samsung for their screens. It's really fantastic. The one of the weirdest things that I've been kind of struggling with here is this concept where they have the home screen, and you can slide left and right to be able to get to the various apps on your home screen, but you slide up, and then there's all your actual apps are there.
Right.
And that's kind of where they live, but it's shortcuts on the home screen. Kind of getting around that mentality has been it's been a little rough. And if I'm in that moment where I'm like, oh crap, when was our dinner reservation again? And I go fumbling around there, am I going to be able to find what I need in time, right?
An entire week left. I don't know why you did this to yourself. You'd have want to told me you would have did 2 weeks. So
yep.
Let's find out what happens, everyone. Here's his next journal, I think from Disney or right after. Check it out.
My wife and I are back from our trip to Walt Disney World, and while I have some very strong opinions on what the Disney experience is like in a post-Genie Plus world, I'm happy to say the Galaxy S22 Ultra worked well enough to get me through the trip really without incident. The thing I was most interested in was the camera experience on the Ultra, since it's considered to have one of the best camera arrays in a phone. And I will say that probably my favorite feature of the Ultra by far was that 10x periscope zoom. Man, that is the business right there. We had a Disney Springs view from our hotel room on the first night, but it was really hard to make out any details with your naked eyes. You're just kind of looking out over the balcony there. But I would take that phone, stick it right up against the glass so that it didn't shake at all, switched over to that 10x, and you could get some really amazing detail out of those shots. And I will say that if I were to ever switch to an Android phone, that would be the reason why, is to get that zoom lens. I tell people all the time that, I've sometimes debated if I even need a phone, because I have a tablet, I have my Apple Watch. I really sometimes feel like the phone is the third device, like a distant third, and compared to those. But the camera is the reason why I keep that device around. It's how I document my life, and I document it largely through photos and the occasional video too. But something I didn't realize that I had mentally adapted to is that the iPhone camera app shows you exactly what you're going to get. And when you hit that shutter button, you get that shot, full stop. There's really nothing to worry about there. What you see in the viewfinder is what you're going to get. There were a lot of shots with the Galaxy that I thought I had captured, only to realize that there was some lag in the device or something that caused me to miss the shot. Or if I was panning the camera around, there'd be some frame skipping and things like that, and I felt it was hard to kind of line things up a bit. But I think there were shots that I ended up missing that I would have gotten on the iPhone, and it's just flat out an issue of muscle memory taking over, and I'd move the phone to try to throw it back in my pocket quickly and move on to the next area, and I just didn't anticipate that I'd need to hold on those shots a little bit longer just to make sure that I really kind of nailed them.
Okay, after 2 weeks, we're here with Rob. He's had the Galaxy S22 Ultra for 2 weeks. Really, probably disruptive, but I have to imagine by this point you found some things you weren't expecting and hopefully had a pretty good time. Tell me about the overall experience.
Overall, I'd say that I'm pleasantly surprised that it wasn't as disruptive as I anticipated it being. I thought that there was really no way I'd be able to live with it. That certainly wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Everything more or less worked kind of how I would have expected it to. And I think, if anything, that's just kind of a testament to how far smartphones have come. They've all reached this level where even, I'd say, the lowest end ones are all pretty decent. They'll all kind of get the job done. It's really a vehicle for apps. And as long as those apps exist on whatever your chosen platform is, you're kind of good to go.
Pretty much all three people previous to you have said essentially the same thing. Their phones, they work the same no matter what you're working on. At the end of the day, it's kind of the same experience. There are some differences, obviously, right? But generally speaking, you're not really missing a whole bunch from either one. Would you agree with that, or do you have a different take on that at all?
I'd say the biggest things for me are that where you do find the differences in the hardware tend to be the most impactful. Like I said, we went to Walt Disney World for a race. Being able to use the camera there and having access to, say, the 10x zoom, that's the first time where kind of like the light went on over my head and I said, hey, this is kind of a big deal. Being able to get shots that I couldn't have gotten before, or the clarity of those shots when you're not having to do the digital zoom to get even in even closer. Those were really kind of the big ones for me. And I'm like, if I were ever going to switch to a device like this, that would be the main reason. And for me, my phone really is my camera. I don't even really use it for communication that much. I have other devices that can do that. But really, I keep it around because of the camera, and having access to that level of quality in Zoom was really kind of a big deal for me.
Did it meet your expectations, or was it something that you're now happy that you had with you, or did you wish that you had your iPhone with you with the quality that the iPhone has?
Honestly, I don't think I ever had a moment where I said, man, I really wish I had my iPhone. I had the device. It had the cameras. It got the shots, more or less. And that was really the only time where, I was using the phone for that much, other than, when you're on a Disney trip, you're in there constantly using their app. But again, it's more about the app. One of the things I didn't know that it does, and I don't know if this is an Android thing or a Samsung thing, but their camera app has the ability to turn on a shot composer. So like it'll look at what you're aiming at and say, hey, adjust your angle this way, and you'll have a really nice shot. I think maybe half the time those were good suggestions. The other half of the time I kind of ignored it, but having that as an option I thought was really cool, and not something I've ever seen the iPhone do. Did
you get to use any of the advanced features like the S Pen or Dex?
I used the S Pen a little bit, just to try it out. Honestly, I mean, I've got the Apple Pencil with my iPad, and I hardly ever use it. I really feel like I kind of wasted the money on it. So not really a game changer as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it might be nice to be able to jot a note down. But if I'm going to write dedicated notes, I'm going to use something that's more like a sheet of paper. I did try out Dex just to say I did. And it's cool. I mean, it's a really cool sort of feature, but I found myself wondering, when would I ever use this? If I'm going to be in front of a screen and have access to be able to plug in a phone like that and want a computer kind of interface, when would I do that I wouldn't have my tablet or have my laptop? I don't think I would ever use it. It's really cool. I'm glad it's there, but it's just not something that's a game changer for me at all.
Do you think anything changed in your opinion between the first week and the second week? Did you learn more in that second week, or was it just all the same?
I think I did. And the main thing that I learned is, just like with any device, you start getting a little deeper into it. You start finding out more that it can do, like that shot composer in the photo app. I only found out about because as I was getting ready to travel with it, I'm like, hey, let's make sure that these, I'm getting the highest quality photos. Let's check all these settings, which it really didn't even occur to me to do until before that. And once I did, and I found some of those additional options, that's when I'm like, oh yeah, there's more here. I'm really just scratched the surface in that first week.
With all that being said, as an incredible Apple lover of all things Apple, if the opportunity came to you to switch to Android, would you do it?
I don't think it's so much better that I would want to potentially move to an entire new ecosystem. I've been using these slate style phones for so long. They really have gotten to a point where you've largely got parity in terms of features and experience. There's a couple outliers there. If I were gonna switch, maybe it would be for a different form factor. I kind of like the idea of the Z Flip rather, not the Fold necessarily. But I like the idea of the Z Flip. But those would be the only reasons why. Honestly, I mean, I just prefer the Apple experience in general.
Sure. As just a 30,000 foot view, kind of walking away from this, what was your experience? Did you enjoy it? Were there things that you learned, or the things that you could pass along to the people? What would you say if you had to wrap it all up?
I think the biggest thing I'd say is that it's not as big a deal as it sounds like. I mean, you'd think it would be, but for the most part, I mean, the hardware's there, the software is largely there. You're going to have a very similar sort of experience. Really, the gaps are going to be in the way it interacts with other devices you might have. But those are all things that can be worked around.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me on this. Everyone else, listen, I've been doing this a couple of times. I'm going to do it a couple of times more. There'll be a playlist link here and in the description below. And thanks, Rob, for joining me today. And I'll see you guys and gals next time. Peace and love.
I will be honest. If I didn't make a promise to Travis and promise to myself to do this for the full time, I would have gave up a long time ago. It shouldn't be this hard.
So we're back at it, and I'm going to challenge another person who owns an Android phone to try an iPhone for an extended period of time. And this time, I'm choosing a subscriber. Now, I'm doing this because of some of the critiques I got from the last time. If you did not see that video, let's just wait for you. You go ahead, there's a link in the description. Maybe I'll put a card up here somewhere. you go watch that video, and we'll wait for you. Don't worry, because you need to watch that. I don't want to spoil it for you. There's some spoilers in this video. Let's wait for them. Now listen, while they're going to watch that, let me explain to you what's going on. One of the biggest critiques I got from that video was that I gave a newer iPhone to someone who had an older Android phone, and of course they would want to upgrade. Now, first of all, I think that's silly on a lot of different in a lot of different ways, because number one, if you love Android and you don't really care for iOS, it doesn't matter if it's new. You're not going to switch to it. But one of the main reasons that he switched had to do with the software, not the hardware. It was iOS. So I decided I'll do it again. This time, we'll find someone who does not want to switch at all, and we'll use a phone from the same year as the phone they currently have. That way, it's not a newer phone. Now, for those of you in the comment section about ready to write something, go,
well, why don't you just give them a new Android phone and a new iPhone?
Listen, y'all ain't watching enough of these videos for me to afford a $2,000 investment in a video like this. So y'all gonna have to hit that like button and that subscribe button, a whole bunch more if you want some of that action. And for those of you that want me to do it the opposite way, challenging an iPhone user to use Android, let's get this thing to 3,500 likes and I'll do it. Also, I'll be following up with Nelson in this video. For some of you wanted to know what's been happening with him many weeks and months later and see what he thinks about being on an iPhone all this time. Right after this.
This is, you know you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing them. And today we're going to challenge another Android user to try an iPhone. Let's get into the video. Now, Tish actually uses a Samsung Galaxy Note 10, I believe, and she was watching my channel back when I was doing reviews of those phones. She said many times in live streams and everywhere else on my comment section, she has no interest in an iPhone at all, period, end of story. Like, she's one of y'all Android-loving people who wants nothing to do with an iPhone. So anyway, I decided to reach back into the bag of the Amazon Renewed series of videos that I've done. If you've watched my channel before, you know I love Amazon Renewed, and I've reached out to Chubby's Tech, who's been supplying a lot of great Amazon Renewed phones for me to review over the last couple of years. They've been an incredible support of the channel. So they've donated a iPhone 11 Pro. I love the fact that they are so willing to do this. So I'm gonna leave a link in the description below for their entire page on Amazon. If you're looking for an Amazon Renewed phone, make sure you go buy one from them. They've been really supportive and their products are great. So it's an iPhone 11 Pro, not a Pro Max. I know some of y'all would be wondering, why not a Pro Max? Well, I don't want to do a Pro Max because I don't want the size to be one of the reasons that she may or may not like the phone. This came out the same exact year as the Galaxy Note 10. So this is pretty much as even as possible. And for those of you that are still going to nitpick after all this time, watch something else. If you're here for entertainment, you're going to be entertained. So let's go talk to the participant of this, my own subscriber, about switching to the iPhone for more than a week. All right, I'm here with Tish, one of my subscribers, one of my good friends, who has been in my comment section for years talking about how she does not want an iPhone at all. Doesn't want one. So I chose one because all y'all out here are hating on me, saying that I found someone who would probably want an iPhone anyway. Tish doesn't want one. She don't want no part of this. Thank you, Tish, for being a part of this.
All for you, Travis.
I appreciate you. So real quick, give people background. You have what, a Galaxy Note 10, right?
Yeah, the Galaxy Note 10 Plus. Yeah.
And you've been happy with that. You've enjoyed it.
I love my phone.
Of course. Yeah. You have no reason to ever look at an iPhone at all. Like, matter of fact, you've even said, if I'm thinking about upgrading, I might get another Note. Like, you have never even kind of, like, you've even said that you just straight up don't want, like, against it at one point, I think.
I have no interest in entering into the Apple ecosphere. My boyfriend, partner, whatever you want to call him, he has all Apple stuff, and if I wanted to, it's right there for me. Right. I'm like, no, I mean, unless you can try and convince me otherwise, which I think you're trying to do.
Well, no, this is just an experiment. And I like this because this is probably the worst scenario possible for something like this. If I wanted to convert you, this is the worst possible scenario. You have no interest in it. I'm not giving you like a brand new phone. Like, I'm stacking the deck against this. I just think it's interesting. And I think your particular scenario is going to be even more interesting because you're also a YouTuber. So you actually can kind of videotape some of the stuff you're doing along the way. I think we'll have some pretty cool looking footage and stuff. And you'll be able to give your honest opinions along the way, especially as a creator, as a creating tool. I use my iPhone for B-roll all the time. And I'm sure you do with your phone. So I'd be interested to see like how that turns out over time. What are your, going into this, because you've seen the other video, what are your preconceived notions about this so far? Like how you think you react to it and what do you think it's going to be? Is it going to be a hassle? Like just walk me through what you're thinking.
I think for me, it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt because I'm not very tech savvy. I told Michael he's not allowed to help me unless I'm crying.
Okay.
So, and I actually beg him to do it. So, but I want to figure it out myself. That's one thing I've always tried to pride myself in, is doing things myself. I honestly, I'm going to miss my S Pen because I use my S Pen a lot.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people mentioned that about the last video that Nelson didn't mention that. I'm glad you brought that up. So you are a daily user of your S Pen. You love it.
Yes, I love my S Pen because I have to write stuff down. Otherwise, I forget. And it's like I have probably 100 notes in my phone right now. I also use it for a remote when I'm taking product pictures.
Oh, yeah.
So I use it as my remote for my camera. So I don't have to I can set it up like this and just beep and I'm done.
You create, in other words, you're using this not just as a phone, but also as a tool in your workflow. So it is actually very vital to your everyday thing. So this could be incredibly disruptive for you. I love that you're so willing to do it. Now, just one last quick question about this. What does Michael think? Is he kind of excited for this, or what does he think about all this?
He's excited for it. He, you know, him and I have gone head to head about switching to Apple. And I said, you know, maybe I'll get an iPad because I can use Procreate on it and start drawing and doing that kind of thing. But I'm not a big iPhone person. I have a PC in my computer, you know, in my a PC computer in my studio. So AirDrop is not a thing for me.
Sure.
You know, none of these things that everybody says, oh, this has this and this and this. It's like, well, I'd have to spend another $5,000 just to get those kind of things.
We're shooting this on Christmas Eve right now at the moment. So you'll get this a little bit after Christmas. I want you to take over a week to get used to it, especially since you're a creator. I want you to be able to spend more time figuring out how it works in your workflow and whether or not it ever will work in your workflow. I believe that if anything, this is a good gateway phone. And if you don't like this, you probably will never like an iPhone. I think pretty much end of story. You'll never have to have the argument with Michael ever again. It's going to be pretty much, listen, I tried it for this long and that's it.
Good morning. I think it's morning. I'm so excited for this. Got Travis's package last night. I waited till this morning, and I'm gonna get bird's eye camera so you can watch me unbox. And then, okay, so I like the green. All right. Oh, and it's got a clear back on it. That's kind of cool. It's really cool. Putting these two side by side, and I actually have grids, y'all, because this is what I do. This is the Samsung Note 10 Plus, and it is an inch longer. It's about about a quarter inch wider. So this is a bigger phone, which the reason why I got this is because it's a bigger phone, because I'm getting older and my hands don't want to work as much, but okay. Make purchases. Set up later. Because create a passcode. Okay, we do this. Really? I gotta do 6? I gotta try and remember 6 numbers? Good lord. Don't transfer apps data. Sign in with your Apple ID to use iCloud, the App Store, and other services. Or don't have an Apple ID. Create a free Apple ID. First name. Tish. Birthday. Math. Why do you have to be all algebra on me? On my Samsung phone, I usually have 2 to 3 bars. On this Apple phone, I only have 1. I probably won't use iCloud or Apple Media because after this test is done, if I decide not to keep the phone, then I won't have access to any of that anymore. Because that's what I use on my phone. I use Google everything just because it's easy. And I can go from my Google on my phone to Google on my computer. And I'm assuming it's kind of the same thing for people who have an Apple phone and then have an iMac or iPad or whatever. They can go between devices fairly smoothly. I can go between my phone and my computer really easily. I'm never going to use Siri. Oh, dark mode all the way, baby. Oh, look at that. That right there is sexy. Okay, so FaceTime, calendar, photos, camera. This is really cluttered. Okay, I don't like this. Okay, I'm going to show you what my onboard screen looks like, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this on my phone. So this is supposed to be a similar phone to what I already have. This is like out the same year. But for Amazon Renewed, I mean, this is a really nice phone. I mean, it looks practically new. There is a little, oh no, that's tape. I mean, other than a few minor scratches, that it's not that big of a deal. Okay. I already don't like this. Does it have a fingerprint ID? Because that's what I have on my phone. Well, that's kind of cool. It has voice memos, which is cool. This is just, how do I get into the actual notes thing then? Note to self or with anyone, invite others to view or make changes to a note, sketch your thoughts, use the jaw. I don't like using my finger. I have fat sausage fingers. Well, can I just... I don't wanna. I want to use a pen. Yeah, see, no, I miss my S Pen. I wonder. Just for science. Nope. It only recognizes my finger. So, a stylus. This is just a stylus. This is just a little thing. I don't like having to enter in my password every time. So, and I don't want to do face connect because I wear glasses. Okay, I don't like swiping up from the bottom either. I like just being able to hit my little square at the bottom, and it's a lifestyle adjustment. I'll get used to it. Maybe just one picture in, I'd like the camera. So, you know, I may change my mind once I go to take product pictures, because I take product pictures with this phone. I need to find out if it has wireless charging on it. So, oh, that's going to be weird. I'm used to hitting my button over here. What are these buttons for? What do these do? Like, for real. Oh, I don't like this. Where's text messaging? Allow messages to share. You have notifications. Silence when using focus. Okay, focus is that thing that Viper did his video on. Got it. How do I make a phone call if I don't? Oh, keypad. Okay, how do I? Okay.
To an automatic voice message system. Michael.
He's in the shower still. First impressions, it's a smaller phone, which is okay. Smaller is sometimes better. There's just too much stuff on here. That's what I was going to show you guys. I was going to show. Do you see my phone? Do you see how not cluttered it is? I actually have a screen where it's just my folders down at the bottom. I gotta figure out how to do that on this phone. So I've completed the first day of the iPhone experience. And I can see why people like the phone, because it has a certain feel to it and it's alien to me, and I'm gonna do my best to adapt and grow and learn. It has triggered a lot of really insightful conversations with Michael, but right now it's not winning me over. I have a certain way of doing things that I've been doing for so long. Like I don't have my phone cluttered with apps. And so when I open my phone, I'm not overwhelmed with apps. I've learned how to take the phone and put it into folders. I've learned how to do that. Uploading apps was kind of a pain in the ass. Okay, it wasn't kind of a pain in the ass. It was a pain in the ass, because until I set up the face recognition on this phone, it was asking me for my 6-digit PIN number, and I'm like, there's got to be a shorter way to do this. And thankfully, I finally got frustrated enough to ask Michael, and he's like, oh yeah, just do this, this, and this, and showed me how to do a 4-digit PIN. But having to enter my PIN after every single thing, and then it wasn't installing, and I couldn't find it, and it was very frustrating. Let's just say it tried my redhead temper many times. But I'm learning, and this is, you know, I'm not only doing this for Travis and because I love him, but I'm doing this for me so I can understand and know how an iPhone works compared to an Android. And right now, I miss my phone. I miss my Android, because I have all my folders set up and all the things set up, and I miss my S Pen. We went shopping yesterday, and I had to type the shopping list. I mean, kinda. I figured out how to use voice commands, like voice typing, voice dictation. I don't know what it's called. You still had to, maneuver it, and it was very cumbersome for me. I really like my S Pen to just write. So I did take a couple of pictures, and I do say I do like the camera on here. So it's day 2 of the Apple adventure. I figured out how to, one, change my background. So I got one of my acrylic boards in the background, and I figured out I can put my folders all down at the bottom. I don't like this up at the top. My Samsung, it's down here, so everything's compressed right here, which I like because it's like all like one spot. Played around with the camera, and it's a great camera for like point and shoot, like a point and shoot type of dynamic. But I haven't figured out how to have more control. Overall, it's a great phone. I'm not dissing the phone. Apple is great. So is Android. And it just depends on who you are, is what I'm finding out. It depends on who you are and what you're comfortable with. There are some apps that I'm having difficulty finding in the Apple Store. So I'm going to see if I can find them. Mostly it's from my bank. It's a small credit union, so I don't know if they're on iStore, but I will find it and we will check back in tomorrow. I've dropped the phone twice. Oh boy. Are you gonna have an outtakes video? Because this is hilarious. Day 5? Something like that. I don't know. It's a day that ends in Y. And to be honest, I'm very frustrated a lot of the time. And I'm having to go to my computer and find passwords. There's no Google apps already on the native on the phone, so I have to find the right app that I need. I just downloaded them all. I just was downloading. I don't even know if I use that Google feature, but I found some Google features that I didn't know existed. That's kind of cool. I really, really miss my S Pen. I have note cards and post-it notes scattered all around my studio, and you can see how much of a mess it already is. I don't need any help with that, y'all, but I'm not finding anything that will allow me to adjust like the ISO and the aperture and all that. Maybe I'm just not pushing the right buttons. Maybe I'm not diving deep enough, but on my phone it's easy. Go down to the menu, hit Pro, and there it is. I will be honest, if I didn't make a promise to Travis and promise to myself to do this for the full time, I would have gave up a long time ago. Because I'm feeling very stupid. And I know I'm not stupid. I know I'm smart. But it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this complicated just to switch over. I mean, Michael's in there right now switching over to an iPhone 11 Pro Max Jahujic thing. He just has the phone sitting next to each other and they're like talking to each other and having a little party. And why can't I do that with my Android phone? Why can't we all just get along? Apple users, Android users, Pixel users, we're all using the same technology. It's just in a different form.
All right, we're back with Tish. It's been actually a week. So the last time I did this with Nelson, it had only been like 3 days, and his decision was at a week. But we're putting Tish through it. So she's already had the phone for over a week. She's going to have it for about another week more before she makes her decision. So she's further into her journey than Nelson was at this same point. So Tish, thank you again for joining me. Thank you again for being a part of this. Let's talk a little bit about what your first week has been. Now, we've seen some clips of what you kind of went through so far up until this point. Anything that surprised you in like maybe not a great way?
Other than the physical phone itself, it's smaller than my other phone.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this phone doesn't have the S Pen like my Note does. With Apple, I had to like first figure out how to use Apple Store. Oh, wait. Before any of that, I had to get an Apple account, an iCount or whatever it is.
Yes.
That was kind of daunting because I'm very
like private. I don't give out my information to just any, technology that asks for it, because I've been hacked. I've had my identity stolen, and I know Apple's really good with security, but still, I still was not comfortable. Why would I go through all this effort and do all these things? And I'm like, well, what if you end up buying an iPad? You can use this information on your iPad.
100%.
So I logically figured that out. So, but I literally spent 3 days uploading apps, because I would be like, oh, I don't have that app on this phone. I don't have that app on my phone. Oh, I don't have that app on my phone. So part of it was transition, the password being really long.
Yep. You need to have a good password. Yep.
Just the passcode to get into my phone, because I didn't set up face recognition right away.
Oh, I see.
Because I was concerned that I wear glasses all the time, but what if I take my glasses off? And, I wear a hat most of the day, but at night I take it off, obviously. So I was concerned at how well it would work. Ultimately, it's just, for me so far, it's just finding, learning a new program.
Yeah.
Is basically what all it is. A phone is a phone. It still functions the same. I still have text messaging. I can still receive phone calls. I can still do all the things. So it's just the getting used to it part. And it'd be the same way if I were to an Apple user an Android phone. They would have the same learning curve. Although depending on how tech smart they are, if they're tech smart, their learning curve is going to be much, much smaller than mine is.
Now, once you're kind of into it, you've had it for about a week, things are mostly working, I guess, or set up kind of in the way you like it. What are the things that surprise you, maybe in a positive way?
It's actually very intuitive. For me, I'm a very visual person, so having things neat and organized you can see the chaos behind me. I've got to have some organization in my life. So, having everything neat and organized and put in its own little pod. Now the Apple phone is set up like my Android phone was. And at first I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to do that. I haven't figured out how to change the keyboard. I hate the keyboard.
You can change the keyboard. Yeah. If you don't like it, change it.
I don't like the keyboard at all. I haven't had a chance to really do the fine tuning. I've gotten the basics done. One thing that doing this experience has done for me is it has made me firm in my decision that I will buy an iPad. So even if I don't keep this phone, because I don't like this phone, doesn't mean I'm not going to buy another Apple product. I'm 99.9% sure I'm going to get an iPad. Which one? That one I'm going to leave to your advice.
Of course. We'll talk about that maybe at the end of this. Have you used FaceTime yet, or iMessage specifically, other than with me?
My friend Clara has iMessage, and I've used it a little bit with her. But Michael doesn't even use iMessage.
So that's a big difference. Now, because a lot of people said, well, it's because of peer pressure. You don't have that in your life. You don't really have peer pressure to use an iPhone over an Android. This is really all going to be your experience. It's really up to you.
On a day-to-day basis, I don't use my phone during the day.
Yeah.
If I do my messaging, it's usually through Facebook Messenger. That's the only that's the only Facebook product I can stand behind anymore. I just want to give myself the opportunity to learn. And I'm grateful for you for giving me this opportunity, because I do have people in my life that do have iPhones. I just don't message them or call them. It's just because I'm in front of my computer. I'm doing computery work. If you're on the fence about getting an iPhone from an Android perspective, you already have an Android and you're thinking about going to iPhone, borrow someone's phone for a couple of days. You might personally like this interface better, because it's kind of like going from Windows to Linux.
Yeah.
There's a learning curve. It's a different way of doing things, but it all does the same thing. Just try it. Be open-minded. Learn more about yourself, but also more about the tech.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. I'm super excited to see where we land in about a week from now. Well, let's zip into your next journal right now.
I have been playing around with the Apple photo camera and the photo settings that are in there. I took a couple of pictures of this already, because what I usually do is I cut off this anyways, so I need to have a fairly close picture so I can have it at a higher resolution, so I don't lose definition when I zoom in and crop it and do all that for the website. So what I have here, this is my phone that I use, and I'm having the Apple phone on my SwitchPod. So I can show you Pro mode for me gives me the most options. All I can find within the app, the camera app on the Apple phone, was flash, exposure, filter, and f-stop. And I kept on getting the error within, I think it's called like studio light, natural light, that I needed to be moved closer or move further away. And so I couldn't get the nice close-up picture like I can with this and do my white balance, my ISO, my f-stop, exposure, and all of that stuff that I have available to me on my phone here. I realize there are probably apps for that. In fact, there's always an app for that. But why should I pay for an app for something that I have native on my phone? The one thing I don't like about this app is it resets. See, it's already reset. As soon as I put my S Pen in there, it reset. Tomorrow is going to be the decision day, and it's going to be very tough for me to decide if I want. I mean, my phone is just shattered and broken, but I've had it for almost 3 years, and I love this phone. But I do like the Apple phone. And I'm not saying that to be cheesy or whatever, but one thing I will say, and I think I've mentioned this before, I will be getting an iPad. That will happen because of this experiment. That is going to happen. This phone, I don't know. I honestly don't know right now. I need to sleep on it.
All right, it's been 2 weeks and it's time to call Tish and find out what the results are. Now, I want to be clear about something. I haven't talked to her yet. I have no idea which way she's leaning. I haven't even looked at any of the journals at this point as I'm shooting this now. I haven't seen any of them. And to be honest, that's not the point. The point isn't to convert anybody. I'm not trying to make people use an iPhone and convert to it. I just want people who are really stuck in their mind about being in one brand and being with one brand to try something new. This is something Tish would never have done on her own, and I think it's dope that she really opened herself up to this particular experience, and it's super cool. So if she decides to stay with her Android phone, that's dope. That's totally cool. And if she wants to switch, that's dope. That's totally cool, but she will now have an educated decision. She now has the experience, and I practically guarantee that regardless of whether or not she stays or goes, she has probably learned some pretty cool things about a phone that she would have never used otherwise. And that makes this video a success. It's kind of dope. So let's find out. What was her experience having an iPhone 11 Pro for 2 weeks? All right, we're back with Tish, and it's been 2 weeks, longer than when Nelson did this. This has been, I'm sure, quite the adventure. I personally have not seen the journals yet, but the people who are watching this have seen them. And I do know, based on what you told me last time, it's been a bit of an adventure. Just kind of as an overall feeling, what was this like for 2 weeks?
It was definitely an adventure. I've been labeling everything as an adventure because when you try anything new, whether it's tech or, new recipes or something, it's always finding new things and exploring them. And I'm going to go off of the fact of like an Apple thing versus an Android thing, not necessarily the style of the phone or anything like that. Apple is a little bit cumbersome for someone who's been in the Android world for a long time. And there's not a lot of like, help me screens. So I don't know, it's like, I had to go elsewhere for the information of why do you need this information, or why do you, why can't I do this? Or basically they're not really user friendly for people who are not tech minded, at least in my experience. Getting used to the way Apple has things laid out. Like for me on my Android, that one menu screen where I can push it and see all the apps that I have open. That thing is amazing for me. I use it all the time. To switch back between Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and checking my Wi-Fi signal and all those things. I have them all open until the end of the day, and then I close them all up. I haven't been able to find a way to do that on Apple. There probably is. Don't get mad at me. I just haven't figured it out yet. So the interface for me was a little bit cumbersome. There are certain rooms in the house that I won't get reception in. And if I wasn't hooked to the Wi-Fi, I wouldn't be able to use my phone. Right. But with my Samsung, I'm cool.
All right, because I know someone in the comments going to say it. There is a multitasking feature where you swipe halfway up. So you know how you swipe away apps? where you just swipe up from the bottom. If you do that and kind of hold it, that's where you get all of your apps that are open. And kind of unlike Android, you actually don't have to close them at the end of the day because they're suspended in a way that doesn't drain the battery. But if you do want to quickly go through them, that's how you would do it. But to your point, on the Samsung, there's just a button you press for it to come up versus like a gesture. So you would get used to it after a while, but the fact that you never found it is very interesting.
I do like the camera, like for point and shoot pictures. Not necessarily for the camera aspects that I need it for my business, but if you are one of those people that likes taking selfies or likes taking pictures of just where you're at and want to share, this thing is phenomenal. iMessage is kind of fun. I do have to admit, because I like using my emojis, and to have the memojis is kind of fun.
That was fun, of course.
It is fun. If you put an emoji behind it, you can help clarify that this is a joke, wink, wink, nudge, nudge,
Right,
or if you're truly PO'd. And being able to like someone's message, because sometimes I'm busy and I just don't have time to type a reply, and being able to just heart it or thumbs up it or whatever is really cool. It reminds me of Facebook Messenger. It kind of had to grow on me. But I do like the face recognition. I'll be in the middle of cooking something and I'll get a text message and I just want to see who it is. And so I can just pick up my phone and I don't necessarily have to put my finger on the screen and get my finger, fingerprint all over my screen and that kind of thing, like I do with my Android. And I think my Android actually has face recognition. I'm not sure. I've never used it before. It's very convenient and I liked it.
With all this time, you've had 2 full weeks with an iPhone. Will you switch? If you will, tell us why. If you won't, tell us why. Tish, are you staying or going?
I'm gonna stick with Android.
Okay, tell us why.
I miss my S Pen.
Okay.
And it's nothing against Apple or Apple users or any of that. So don't leave, Travis, any nasty comments in the comment section or me. I can do more with my phone. The camera on my phone allows me to have a pro mode. In the previous sections, you kind of saw me go through why I liked my Android camera versus the Apple camera. And those are like the 2 things that I use the most in my life is my S Pen, because I'm constantly having to write things down. And I've had to carry a little notebook with me just because I couldn't necessarily write things down on my Apple. Other than that, that's really just kind of my deciding factor is my experience. It's my user experience, not the phone.
So super shout out to Tish. I thank her so much for being a part of this. And what an incredible experience we all got to see. Very vulnerable in moments and completely honest the entire way through. Some of you might be thinking, well, this proves the point that the other video was invalid because she didn't switch over. But then we had another meeting a week later, and it turns out that if you ask the right question, you get a different answer. You see, she kept talking about the S Pen and how important it was to her, so I decided to ask, if Samsung ever got rid of the S Pen or stopped selling phones with an S Pen, would you ever possibly buy an iPhone?
Yes.
Wow.
Because honestly, I were to upgrade my phone and the new Samsung phone didn't have the S Pen coming with it, I would probably realistically look at the iPhone 13 or whatever number it is. Yes.
Now that's incredible. You got to remember, Tish wanted nothing to do with Apple at all at the beginning of this experiment. And now she is absolutely buying an iPad. And if Samsung drops the S Pen, which I hope they don't do, she might actually get an iPhone. That's crazy. Anyway, an incredible experiment. I thank Tish so much. Link to her channels in the description below. But now you're probably wondering what happened to Nelson. Is he still on an iPhone? Does he still love Apple stuff? Or has he gone back to a Samsung phone? All right, we're back a couple months later with Nelson and Erica from the iPhone challenge. It's been a minute since we've seen each other last.
Yeah.
And how are things going with the iPhone? People are asking all the time in the comments, how are things going with the iPhone? And do you still like it? And that sort of thing.
I mean, I still really enjoy it. I think the only thing that has kind of surprised me is when it comes to like games. It used to be that Apple got like all of the games first, and now it's either games are coming out on Apple and Android at the same time, or, I mean, there are some games that come out on Android first. So that's something that's interesting to see, that shift. I've really loved it. I love FaceTime and iMessage, and I've enjoyed Apple TV a lot.
Two of the things that people continue to bring up are, one, that you like never mentioned and this was my fault, you never really mentioned missing the S Pen. They're like, oh, he can't be a real Android user because he never talked about missing the S Pen.
So I like the S Pen. I was not like a huge S Pen or stylus guy. You know, it wasn't something that I would use instead of my finger in everyday stuff. But I used it a lot in like Jackbox games because they have a lot of games where you have to like draw stuff, and that was fantastic for that.
Yeah.
And then I also had like a coloring app that I would use it on that I really liked it. Occasionally I'd use it for checking off a list.
But did you miss it? Do you miss it now?
I don't, you know, like the few, like,
Yeah.
I didn't use it a lot, and that's the thing. I didn't use it a ton. It was great for when I did use it, but because I wasn't using it like as an everyday thing, not having it hasn't been a big issue for me.
The big elephant in the room is most people think that the reason that you went to iPhone is because the phone was new, and of course you would take a new phone versus just keeping your older phone. And I know that came up. It wasn't never in the video, so people don't know. Tell us about that. Did that have anything to do with it? Do you feel like, hey, this is a new phone, why wouldn't I just take a new phone?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. It's a good question. I mean, that's basically every time Apple comes out with a new phone, you're given that option if you have an updated phone. They're like, every carrier is like, trade in your phone for a free iPhone. And I've never made that decision. You know, even though I had phones, like I had Androids, you know, I had a Note 9 that I could have easily traded in the next year for the newest iPhone for free, and I never did. Newness wasn't a factor for me. My Android functioned perfectly. Like, I didn't know, like, there was no slowdown. I still had plenty of space. You know, I had all my settings on it set up the way I liked it to. I mean, I totally get the like, oh yeah, it's a brand new phone, of course you're going to switch to it. But, you know, I was really just trying it out and realizing that I really liked some of the features. And I think the biggest thing is like, yeah, we're all given that option pretty much every time an iPhone comes out. When it comes to missing my Android, you know, all the any apps that I bought there are gone. And so that's a little sad.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for, again, doing this whole experiment thing. And people really were interested in how you've been getting along. A lot of people were like, did he buy an Apple TV? You know, all those things. Yeah. But you are watching Apple TV, which I thought was interesting.
Still watching it. I mean, I still have that 3-month trial. But I think we're going to keep going. Like,
we really like Apple TV. Like, they've done a really good job.
Well, thank you guys for joining me. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
See ya.
Anyway, look, you've been a lifelong iPhone user, and for the last week, you've tried a Galaxy Note 20 Ultra to try something new. So, Shayla, I'm going to ask you, if you have the chance to switch from iPhone to Android, will you do it? I'm shocked. I'm not going to lie. I thought something was going to happen, and then all of a sudden something else happened, and then this happened. And this is the first time I've been completely blown away. So you asked for it, and now I'm going to give it to you. A lifelong iPhone user is going to try an Android phone and see if they will switch. I love this video series. It's been so much fun. Same rules apply, so if you're used to them, you're going to love it. If not, I'm going to tell you all about what I'm doing here and what this video is all about right after this.
This is, you know you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing them. And today we're going to challenge an iPhone user to use an Android phone. Let's get into the video. So if you missed the first two videos, what's happened so far is I've challenged iPhone users to try Android phones and I've had some pretty interesting results. I'll leave links in the description below so you guys and girls can watch those videos. They've been super fun, but everyone wanted me to do it the opposite way. So here we are. Today, we're going to challenge Shayla. Now, I've known Shayla pretty much all her life. You see, she's the daughter of my best friend. You know, the guy that I put AirTags on his car and followed him around for 24 hours without him knowing. I'm really
really torturing this family. It's pretty crazy. I've known her for so long that I can remember when she was younger than her current kids. It's been pretty crazy. But she's only ever owned an iPhone, and when I asked her if she wanted to try the challenge out, she said yeah. So, I'm going to give her a phone that's made the same year as her iPhone, have her use it for a week, and see what she thinks. So let's get into the video. All right, I'm here with Shayla. I know that you've agreed to do this, but we're kind of in a place where you're just telling me things that I didn't even realize about how to use your iPhone. So first of all, talk about how long have you been using an iPhone and what that experience has been like.
I've had an iPhone since probably 2012. It was right after I had Tanner. I first got my big girl job and I bought an iPhone and I was super proud of that. I have used one ever since and have no intention of switching to Android at all. I've never even thought about it.
So why are you open to doing this?
Just for the experience, just to say I did it, just to try it. I don't use anything Android. I never have. Aside from somebody handing me a Kindle tablet, I haven't done anything other than Apple. So I don't know. I mean, I use iMessage frequently, but that's not anything that can't just be switched over to a regular SMS message. So for that, I'm not super worried. I'll just have to call my mom to see how Tanner is.
Okay,
so.
No problem. All right, so what you have now is the iPhone 12?
Yes.
12 Pro?
Just 12.
All right, 12.
I think.
Okay, so if you flip it over, you can tell.
It's two cameras. It's
okay,
a 12.
Camera with 12. Okay.
Yep.
So what we're putting you in, we're going to use the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, which came out the same year as yours.
Okay.
It has the S Pen, which Tish talked about loving, and I think you might like it too. So go ahead and grab it. It's got a screen protector on it. We're going to go ahead and set it up, and then we're going to have you walk through the setup and see what you think of it during that setup process.
Okay.
You're not used to a fingerprint sensor, really.
No, not since they got rid of it a couple years back. So
get used to it here, sister. All right, go ahead and start the process here. Now, are your contacts in Google? Are they backed up to Google?
I don't know.
This is gonna be. We're all gonna find out together.
I don't know. I do use Google, so that could help, right?
Yeah, well,
maybe?
It will. So things like Gmail and stuff are gonna be super easy.
Oh, good.
I think the S Pen is gonna be really cool. I think you're really gonna dig that because you can take really quick notes with it. You also can take pictures with it. It's really cool.
See, and I've never needed a stylus for anything, so I may use it. I may not touch it at all. Who knows?
So we'll actually do the smart switch thing later. It's been hit or miss with this, especially depending on how much stuff you have on your phone, which I assume is a lot of pictures and stuff. Well,
okay.
Maybe we do this part later.
Yeah, so there's 16,000 pictures on my phone.
We're probably not gonna
Yeah. So
maybe
we're not gonna want to do
yeah.
Yep. Now let's see if I remember my password. This is a much longer process than it was with the
earlier iPhone.
Yeah.
These are apps and stuff. I'm not really going to help you with this part.
Well, I know what none of those are, so I don't want them.
Okay, you're in. Now, you'll definitely want to download like Gmail, which I actually think is already there. See, there's a Google. Yep, there you go. See if that connects to your email already. Oh, that looks like a message.
It is. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So that looks fine. Okay.
Yep.
Now, I want you to start using the S Pen. So, bottom left corner, you'll notice is the S Pen. You just push it, and then it'll spring out. It comes out. Now, this is the thing. You don't want to lose this. It's very important. Now, this is going to tell you some of the things you can do. So, go ahead and do some of the things that it tells you.
Actions. What did that just... Okay. Where's the... Oh. And then flick it up. Oh, okay. Okay, but what am I doing with these things? Why do I need to know how to do this?
Well, you'll find out, I'm sure. Or maybe you won't. Who knows?
I know. Okay.
That will give you different things you can do with the S Pen specifically. Now, what's cool is if you hit the power button, I think it's on the right-hand side.
This one?
Okay, that's how it's... Now pull it out. This is one of my favorite S Pen features. Now, you can just write yourself a note here.
Oh,
just like write something, so you can write yourself a note. And you can do it in different colors or whatever. And the cool thing about this is if you have something really fast...
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't ever I mean, that is a way better function than just the iPhone going in, having to go into notes and then typing something out just to be able to quick pull it out.
So yeah, you'll be able to customize this to the nth degree, including things like ringtones for people and, you know, text and pictures and all that
All
stuff.
of the things that you can't do on an iPhone.
Pretty much. So I really want you to really kind of customize as much as you can. There you go. Click apply. And now it's starting to apply. And then when you hit the home button at the bottom, there you go. So later that night, I started getting texts from her about how she was actually kind of liking the phone. And by the next day, not only was I getting texts that she was really enjoying the phone, she sent me this video.
Don't tell anyone, but this phone's really starting to grow on me. I love the functionality. I love the ability to customize everything. The camera is incredible. You're doing awesome, dude. I took the boys out to the park today, and just taking pictures is incredible. I'm loving it. Yeah, my iPhone is in trouble. I may be switching, and I never saw this coming.
Now, this kind of shocked me. I figured if she would like it at all, it would be later in the process. This literally happened like within the first 24 hours. It was insane. Here's something else that she said.
Good morning. First night didn't go too bad. No major problems or anything logging into everything. I will say that the one thing that I definitely forgot to do was set my alarm. So the alarm clock function is great. It does work very well if you use it.
So at this point, I'm thinking she's probably going to switch much faster than I thought would ever be possible. But again, it's about challenging people and what they've gotten used to. She's only ever known the iPhone. So I wanted to ask her some questions as we were halfway through the experiment. My first question is, you know, someone who basically just always had an iPhone, what's it been like for the first couple of days, and what are some of the things you've noticed?
It's been really smooth. There hasn't really been anything major that's come up that I haven't been able to figure out. It's functionality wise, it's pretty much the same as using an iPhone. I mean, it does all of the same things that I want it to do. The only major difference is, like I said before, is that things are customizable. I can pull out the S Pen and write a note down if I need to. But outside of that, I haven't used the S Pen at all. I did write down a couple of things when I went to the grocery store today that I needed to remember, but outside of that, haven't touched it. I can understand for somebody who does take notes often and needs to remember things, it is pretty cool. Outside of using like my iPhone in the notes section, trying to type down everything and remember and then try to find it. I did have trouble finding where the Samsung Notes went. I wrote that down and I definitely saved it, and I have no idea where it is. Outside of that, aside from like toolbars on Facebook being up top instead of down below, there hasn't really been anything that I've run into that's been majorly inconvenient.
What has surprised you so far about using this particular device?
The only thing that's surprising, the graphics for different games and things like that are amazing. I was playing Pokemon Go a couple of days ago with Tanner, and even just like going into Pokestops and stuff, the way that it zooms in, it gives you so much more depth than on the iPhone, and I think that's super cool. Tanner was like, whoa, yours looks way better than mine, and I'm like, sorry, dude, I don't know. And we did find a workaround for Tanner's iMessage problem. He uses Messenger Kids, so we just downloaded Messenger and made sure that it was all up to date, and haven't had an issue, because as long as he's connected to Wi-Fi, he was doing the same thing he was before. So it is a little bit different with swiping up, like to close apps out of the iPhone. And when I do that here, it just kind of freaks out. It's like, what are you doing? Because you push the button and it goes home, and there's another button and it flips through all the apps that you have open and things like that. I had no idea. It's really cool. I love this phone. It's really smooth. There's been no issues with battery life or anything like that. It's really similar to my iPhone, so it's been great.
So I told you about Dex a little bit. Did you get to look into that at all? And then the multitasking where you can actually do more than one thing at one time. Have you tried any of that?
I did split screen yesterday while I was trying to look for a recipe, and I couldn't figure out how to turn it off.
Oh, okay.
So I was stuck there for a while, and I was like, well, I guess we just have two windows open. I don't know what's going on.
So far, in going from iPhone to Android, are you are you kind of happy with what's happening right now? Has this been like a little painful? Like some people have had some growing pains with it, but it sounds like so far you're just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I enjoy it more than I thought I would. I thought that I would come into this and it would be funky and hard to get used to just because it's a different operating system and things like that. And it's been totally seamless. So I was pretty surprised. Aside from like most of my pictures and things that I don't have immediate access to because I need to download everything. It's been great. And so seeing all the different options, and most of them are free.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. You have to pay for everything you want on an iPhone.
Right.
Anything at all. You got to pay for a ringtone. You got to pay for 30-second clips of that song that you can't remember. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. So just having those options has been really awesome. And I'm kind of a little worried about going back to an iPhone where I have none of those options.
Do you have a general idea of like which way you're leaning, or are you still kind of in the middle of trying to figure everything out?
There's nothing that I'm missing. I can't think of a single thing that I'm missing. Maybe I don't use my phone the way other people do. So many people are using them for video conferences and really into gaming and things like that. And I don't do any of that. Really leaning towards getting an Android when I upgrade. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough call.
So a couple days later, she had one more thing to share. This is what she had to say.
This is awesome. This has been a super fun experience, trying to learn something new and just seeing what's out there with different features and functions of different phones. I didn't know so many of these options were out here, having had my iPhone for about 10 years, but it's been fun.
Going into the final day, I was super excited. This had gone completely the opposite direction of what I thought. And I was really excited to know what her decision would be. Now, I gotta be honest, I actually had an idea of what she would say, but I was wrong. Completely. All right, we're here. The final day. Shayla's here after having the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra for a week. You've been an iPhone user your entire life, right? Like, this is the first time you've owned an Android phone.
Yes.
So what has the experience overall been like? Forget about the actual phone itself, but what's the experience been like?
Overall, it's been fun. Getting to learn kind of a new platform, just to go through different apps and have different, not necessarily different features as my iPhone, but different ways of doing things that have been fun to kind of figure out and sort through. I think at first it was like this new shiny toy that's so different from everything that I've ever known, and it's exciting to try. And now I'm not as excited.
Because ultimately we're just using apps and stuff, and by and large, they're mostly the same. It might be one.
It does the same thing. It does the exact same thing that my iPhone does. It just does it differently.
Exactly right. And this is kind of the point of this entire series, is to let people know that, you know, to be stuck in one or the other, you just shouldn't feel that way, because ultimately you're still going to get the same things done. Now, is there anything that you have missed that is not on the Galaxy Note that you were either using, or you were like a couple days later like, I wish this thing was here, but it's not?
Overall, not really. As far as things that I can do on my iPhone that I couldn't do here, I can't really think of anything major. I think the only thing that I miss phone wise, like feature wise from my iPhone is, and I said this in one of my journals, is the lift to wake feature. I don't like picking up this phone and having it still be dark. And then trying to figure out, since I don't know where the top or the bottom of the phone is, where to put my finger on this magical button that's supposed to scan my thumbprint. But outside of that, I don't feel like I'm missing much.
So interestingly, there is a setting for that, but
is there?
Yeah. Not only that, there's also a setting to just like, you can just tap it. But this brings up a good point, because this stuff is hidden among settings on settings on settings. And it wasn't until recently that you even got to try or even know about Dex. So I'd love to hear what happened with that.
Okay, so I was super excited today, and I didn't even think about it until I was going through, and I had to have a meeting with my manager today, with my boss, and she's the CEO of our company. And with my laptop and my workstation, I have to unplug the dock in order to have the audio from my computer to be able to hear her in our meeting. And I unplugged it, and a light bulb went off that it's a USB-C port. And I was like, my phone has a USB-C port. And I got super excited and I plugged it in and it said welcome and Dex, and there was a whole PC on my phone. And I was shocked and I was like, oh my gosh, like and there wasn't anything that I looked at that I couldn't do from my desktop now. So that was super exciting to see. And if there was ever a point where I didn't have a computer already and needed to switch to something that I could have both, just for ease, that was totally it. And it worked seamlessly. It was super easy. When you go to charge an Android that has died, it doesn't automatically turn back on.
Yeah, right.
So last night I was playing on TikTok and watching different videos and things, and my phone died, and I was like, I can go to bed. It's like 11. Yeah. So I go and I put my phone on the charger, and my alarm doesn't go off this morning.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. So I was like, what happened? And I pick up the phone and it's 100% charged, but it's not on. But outside of that, the voicemail function on this phone is not my favorite. You have to like call in through T-Mobile, which is how, we did it in ancient times, but now on my iPhone, there's just a tab at the bottom where I can click voicemail and it has it transcribed, and I can just hit play and I know where to push it to delete it. And on this phone, I had to use the call in and listen to the whole message. And then I didn't want to listen to the whole message. So I'm just pushing buttons to figure out how to delete it, how to get out of the message. And I saved every single one of them. I love that I can customize everything. I love that I can change the theme. So the background's different. I can change the icons. I can go in and find ringtones that I like and assign them. And I don't have to pay for any of it.
Have you missed iMessage or FaceTime?
No. Not at all. There have been people that have texted me saying, why are my messages green? And I'm like, hey, I'm trying something out. It's nothing crazy, but I'm trying an Android for a week. And I've had a lot of people be like, oh my gosh, is it terrible? And I'm like, no, actually, it's amazing.
Anyway, look, you've been a lifelong iPhone user. And for the last week, you've tried a Galaxy Note 20 Ultra to try something new. So, Shayla, I'm going to ask you, if you have the chance to switch from iPhone to Android, will you do it?
Probably not right now.
Oh, when?
Probably not.
Why
Probably
not?
There are just things about my iPhone and how easy it is, just because I can't customize everything, that it's easy. It's easy, and I know where everything is already. I think if I were coming into the world of smartphones brand new and fresh, and I've never done anything, I don't have all of my life invested in my iCloud, I would probably go Android, to be honest, just because it's really, really simple, and you have all of these really cool features and options for things. The Dex part is amazing. I've never seen anything like that before. It's super cool. But I'm already super invested in this iPhone life, so I'm probably gonna stick it out for at least the next year.
You've said that despite the fact that it's been incredible, every time you've messaged me, you're like, "Oh my god, this is great! Oh my god, this is amazing!" I'm like the text,
and I do love it.
It's incredible. Like, I totally didn't expect this. I'm shocked. I'm not gonna lie. I thought something was gonna happen, and then all of a sudden something else happened, and then this happened. And this is the first time I've been completely blown away. So anyway, it's amazing. I'm glad you enjoyed your time. If you had more time with things like Dex and stuff, do you think that would have made a difference or no?
Probably.
Really?
Yeah, probably. Just because I have this double screen set up for my workstation, and all of the things that I do on my phone, I could be doing at a desktop, which is really cool, just to be able to plug it in and go, especially for filling out things for the kids' school, emailing teachers back and forth. Like, all of those things are way simpler on a computer. And while I do have one, having all of that in your phone is also really, really convenient.
What an incredible experiment this has been. Thanks so much to Shayla for really just
diving deep into it and really giving it a chance. She loved it, and you never know. She might give it a shot here in a couple of months. Now, what's interesting is this is not the only time I'm doing this. I'm going to do this again, and I believe I'm going to do it with the S22 Ultra. That's right, the brand new Samsung smartphone. So if you want to watch that video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love. You hate Apple, you use iPhone, so in a lot of ways, you are kind of the perfect person for an experiment like this because you have every reason to want to leave Apple altogether.
Yes, I want to. I would love to be away from my iPhone and my iPad and everything else.
All right, we're back at it again and another Switch video for you. You guys like it, so we're going to do it again. This time, I'm talking to LeeAnn and Dan. Now, real quick, let me introduce these guys because I've known Dan on Twitter for quite a while. Probably the most kicked off of Twitter guy I ever have met in my entire life. Been kicked off more times than the Trump guy. Anyway, I want to just talk real briefly about why LeeAnn is here because she doesn't watch the channel. It's not like she was aware of this sort of thing. Dan, when I put out the Twitter, do you think anyone's really interested in this? You thought your lovely wife would be a perfect example for this. Why?
Because she uses an iPhone and she used to be an Android girl, right? And she used to use the Galaxy Note and she used the HTC One and she used to love them. That's when I first met her. And she seemed to lull me in with that. So I'd start dating her. And then all of a sudden, she flipped to an iPhone. And you know how I feel about Apple.
I know, exactly. It was a bait and switch, if I've ever heard of one.
Absolutely. I got catfished with an Android into an iPhone.
LeeAnn, though, you've been a really good sport about this. I know that Dan asked you if you'd be up for it. You said, yeah. Tell me a little bit about it. You used to be on Android and now your iPhone. What's the deal with that?
I started working for Apple back in 2013 and they gave me a whole bunch of free stuff. So I am in the ecosystem. All of my stuff is there. It's too expensive for me to go back.
I will say, however, there was a positive out of it that I got free Final Cut Pro because of.
Hey, now that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad. Now you got to keep her. Be late.
Well, that's the only reason she's still signed.
Well, real quick, LeeAnn, tell me a little bit about how you use your phone on a daily basis, because I think that's really been one of the key things about some of these. We've had people that are like hardcores. We've had some people that are, the user phone. Some of the time, how do you use and interact with your phone?
I'm on my phone all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Nonstop. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, video chat,
work, nails, hair.
Yeah.
Everything I don't
I use it constantly. And sometimes he's like, hey, can you do something on my phone? And I'm like, I hate this effing Android. I don't want it. Get it away. I can't even unlock the screen. I scream at it when you try to get me to unlock it. And now I'm stuck with one for a week.
It's because you have like spaz fingers. I tell you what to do and you don't do it. And then you go, iPhone.
Well, we're going to find out, actually, as a matter of fact. And I've sent her what is right now the best Samsung phone available, the Galaxy S22 Ultra. So you're going to be ready. I think, Dan, you have the same thing, yeah?
Yes. Which is getting boxed up on Monday.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's a different story for another day. I can't wait to hear that story. Okay, so in going to this, it's a week where you're going to completely switch over. What are like your fears and your preconceived notions about what's going to happen?
It's slowing me down. I use it a lot for work. I'm in it all the time, getting authentication codes. I work remotely, so now how I deal with my coworkers. Look, Microsoft Teams is a joke. So we're all like in the other messengers on the phone all day and whatnot. And if I can't even type on the
You rely a lot on iMessage, right? She's the typical, I used to work for Apple too. So and like most iPhone users.
He's talking crap because I barely ever use iMessage. I use FaceTime.
All right. Well, look, this is going to be super simple. I just want you to use it for a week. I don't want you to fall back to your iPhone, and you need to just let us know everything, good, bad, and different. I guess the last thing would be, if there is a way that you end up switching at the end of this, are you ever going to hear the end of it from Dan?
I am really good at tuning him out. We have been together more than 10 years, so I think it'll be all right.
Well, everyone else is watching. First Journal is up now.
Open the box.
What's in the box? Show me your box.
Get rid of that iPhone right now. Where is that iPhone? Give me that. Give me that. Give me that. See this? Get out. It's maybe hang on a minute. Let's see. It's the S22 Ultra. Do you like your new phone? Take the case off. Look at the back and everything. I mean, it looks so much better than this thing. Look at this. This looks like 1980s grandma's countertop.
I like that case. Thank you very much.
That's because you also look like a 1980s grandma.
And you obviously like banging grandmas.
Well, you may have more money than I do. You're telling me that isn't a better looking phone than your iPoop?
I mean, I don't care about how it looks. So what are the buttons? You're going to have to teach me. Like, I don't even know what's what.
Hold the power button, which is the smaller one under the bigger one.
So what's the bigger one? Is
Volume.
that volume?
Yeah.
And then what's...
There isn't.
Gotcha.
It's really basic. You do not need to take your shoes and socks off for this one.
I love you. Use a Wi-Fi network. He's going to love my Wi-Fi name. I came up with this all by myself. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the help of Google, of
That's
course.
Right. I did your Wi-Fi last night, and she loved every bit of it.
I'm going to have to remember passwords.
Look at the state of this desk.
Stop.
Look at it.
No, don't
Look
humiliate
at the state
me.
of this desk. Don't you hit me. I tell you, Amber Heard, they'll be on. I'll be on TV. I'm taking you to court.
I'll in your bed.
Yeah, that's what I say. I'll tell everybody you shit in my bed as well. All right? And we're back with the cable.
How do I get the screen on, though?
Don't hit it. Just tap it. You don't have to punch the
Well, I
fucking
did
thing.
tap it like just 5 times.
Just hurry up and plug it in. See? Crappy lightning cable. Look how difficult that was on your crappy iPhone. Now, it's ready to select data to transfer. See?
So just kind of, I like to look through the settings because
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
I like that it's going to bring over my block list.
Fantastic.
Which is great. And then all of my contacts will come over. Okay, I'm happy about that. Last 30 days of messages. I mean, we'll just say all. How's that?
Jesus Christ.
I just deleted all of my texts, that's why. Oh, and then I get to go through and actually pick my apps, so that's decent, right? Like, I can still keep my Turnip Stockbroker for my Animal Crossing.
See how easy it is? Huh? And you going about iOS and iPhone.
I was talking about my WhatsApp chats.
Everything's so easy and everything's just this on the iPhone, but on the Android, it's also, look how easy this has been. This is a piece of piss.
Do you see how much of a drama queen my husband is?
You are. Look at you. Oh, we'll see about that through this week when it comes to drama queen, won't we? Amber. So she's now saying that she doesn't have any apps.
It said it downloaded 18 of my apps.
And what? It's still downloading. I can see. Look in the top.
It's updating them. I just said
Scroll down.
Said to update the 18 apps it downloaded.
Transferring from your iPhone. But it's still transferring from the iPhone.
That's not what I'm talking about. The apps.
No matter if you have an iPhone or one of the newest Samsung Galaxy phones like in this video, you did not get a charging brick with your phone. That's a new thing that's been happening. If you haven't bought a phone in the last several years, you don't have a USB-C power charger. But I've partnered with a company that can solve that problem for you right now. Introducing Ugreen's 30-watt USB-C charger that can be used for both iPhone and Android and give you up to 30 watts of fast charging goodness. Now, I've used Ugreen products for a very long time and I love it. Their price to performance is incredible. And because they're using the newest GaN technology, this thing is 46% smaller than your normal 30-watt fast charger, but still is fast. And one of the best things about this that makes it incredible for traveling, that 30 watts of power delivery fast charging. Ditch your old 20-watt charger and charge your iPhone 13 Pro Max or your Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra all the way up. So make sure to pick yours up. There's a link in the description below. And shout out and thanks to Ugreen for being a longtime sponsor of this channel.
Hi.
Hey.
So how was your first night with your Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra sent by Travis?
Well, I know that you weren't too happy about it, were you?
Oh my God. Anyway.
So, we got everything all set up. Like,
let's talk about that. In fact, there's a little clip that I'm going to send to Travis from last night of you having your meltdown about, hey, my apps are on the phone, my apps are... But there's a big fucking arrow at the top of the screen saying transferring data. Yeah, but my apps are not there. But guess what happened when it finished transferring data? What happened?
Well,
your apps were there. Your apps were there, right? Yeah.
2 hours later.
Yeah, was your apps there or not?
This was supposed to be a miracle phone from the gods.
Let's talk about the Facebook app at around 1 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, so that was a problem. So
Dumbass.
I finally got into bed because I did my nails last night. Speaking of which, off subject, I did my nails last night. I used the phone. I took my nail photo. I posted it on my Twitter.
Blows away the iPhone, right?
Amazing.
Hey, the Android cameras, dude. I'm telling you.
You know what? Like, and usually with my iPhone, I have to have like 16 lights on, and then it still looks horrible. This one, like, I took 2 photos. It was good.
Told you.
Very happy about
Been
that.
telling you this all along.
On iOS Facebook, when you hit that mute button, everything stays muted, right? But on Android, I hit the mute button, and then I scrolled, and then the next video played really loud, and I muted it, and then I scrolled, and the next video played. So finally, I was like, ugh! And I threw the phone, and I was on the iPad today. I didn't really throw your phone, Travis.
So let's talk about the better phone and the fact that the S22 Ultra is better than the iPhone.
No, not yet. I really, like, today really kept wanting to grab my iPhone.
So, did you change the keyboard?
Yeah, you had me change it to Gboard last
Which is
night.
Google's keyboard.
Right. Well, I downloaded it, but I never changed it over. So I ended up changing it over today. And it's still kind of a shit show. But you didn't really show me, like, if there's any tricks to it. So I guess I'll have to
I'll have to go through that.
And look. So on my iPhone, when you get the iPhone, you do this facial recognition setup. You makeup, no makeup, glasses, no glasses. You leave them on. You look at this thing. Tilt your head, la la la. And then you know what? That's it. I've never had to do another one of those.
Yes.
This one, it looked at my face. It's like, oh, you're good to go.
Because
and
it's
it never
not secure.
recognized me again.
Because it's not as secure as the iPhone on the facial. That's why you use
then I guess.
the in-screen fingerprint sensor that's very fast, which you didn't set up.
Facial recognition, hello. When I'm working, if it goes off, I like to look at the phone. It sees me. It opens up. I can read stuff, at least on the iPhone.
How about the S Pen? See? See what I mean? See?
What S Pen?
See that on there?
A charging port
Next to it. And the thing that, look at that, click it. Whoa, pull that out. Look at this.
Oh, okay. Well, it's got it. So it's a note.
Yeah, I already said that.
Okay.
When I got mine, it's just a note. But watch, now start writing on your screen. Even though the screen isn't on, you can take notes. You can write phone numbers down and it'll save it into the notes. You don't even need the screen on for it. What does that say? Now what's your issue?
I'm trying to order McDonald's for the baby, and I have to share my location, and I hit OK, but then it's like, no permissions allowed.
See? Yeah.
Okay, but why do I have to go through all this extra shit? Just prompt me, bro. Like, this is a pain in the ass.
It's for security.
Now I have to go through each individual thing and allow it.
Hit location.
Yeah, but I have to
Difficult. Allow while using the app.
I have
Done.
to. That's not done. That's annoying. Just give me a pop-up and allow me to hit OK.
Normally,
why do I
it
have
does
to
pop
go
up.
through 15,000 steps?
So this phone doesn't recognize me without makeup. My iPhone does. It's okay, I wouldn't recognize me either, but just saying.
Where's your Samsung phone? Where's your Samsung phone? What the hell is this? Where's the Samsung phone? Where is the Samsung phone? Where is it?
I don't know. I couldn't find it, so I was using this.
Don't lie. Where is the Samsung phone?
I really don't know. I
Don't
lost it.
I don't believe you. Where is the Samsung
I
phone?
don't know. I need your help finding it. Can you call it? I can't call it. There's no SIM card in my iPhone.
You know what?
Now where's the hey? Where's the Samsung phone that I just found for you?
It was hidden in the
Look
bed.
at the boy. Look at the boy. Even the boy has got a face of disgust because you didn't have the iPhone.
Okay, we're 4 days in, and listen, LeeAnn, we got to talk a little bit about your experiences so far. The people have seen some of your very interesting journals up until this point. Tell us your honest opinion where you are right now. Like, we're not making decisions about whether you would ever switch or anything. We want to know what's your experience as of today.
I hate this phone.
So the actual usability of the phone is confounding you, I guess is what we would say. Let's get past the maybe unlocking it, but like, what are the parts of it that you're struggling with right now?
The icons are too small, close together. Dan did something to make it look easier for me. It's horrible. The aesthetic of it, I don't know, is not very nice at all. And I'm not an idiot. I work in IT for a living.
Sure.
I am very, very, very capable. If I don't have a wig on, my phone won't even open for me. It's like, no, bitch, you're ugly. I ain't looking at you. It's a problem from day one.
Okay, well let's talk about the actual usability once you're in it, because things are in different places. They're in different places. There's different ways of getting to like notifications and stuff like that. How has that part been?
Horrible, because so I use this app called Spark Email, for example. Okay. Works great on my phone, works great on my iPad, works great on my computer. Never had an issue with it. I load it up onto this thing, and every time I get an email, if I haven't looked at my email, let's say at 7 o'clock in the morning, the Children's Place sends me a $10 coupon.
Yeah.
Then at 8 o'clock, another one comes in. I don't get to see that notification pop up my screen. It dings. I look at it. It's still the Children's Place. And then 10 emails later, it's still the Children's Place. And I'm like, I hate the Gmail app. Why do I have to go to that? You know what I mean? So it's just an example. Like, all the apps are like not working right. 1Password is a password app that I rely on for all of my work stuff. Huge. I've got over 10,000 passwords saved into it on my iPhone. I tried to port it over, couldn't port over any of my passwords, even though it's a supposed thing that you can do. So that's another thing. So it's like, I'm trying to use this phone. I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to give it everything it's got. I'm trying not to compare it to my iPhone because I hate Apple. I think they're pieces of garbage.
Interesting.
I think it's a good phone compared to this. This has
That's
been a
really
very
interesting.
bad experience for me because I hate Apple.
Okay, so this is really interesting. So you don't like the company that makes the phone, but you like the experience of the iPhone. Kind of talk me through that aspect of it. What is it about the iPhone itself that you really enjoy?
Point and click. When I get a notification, for example, because I work all day, I look at the screen, you know, it opens right up. Everything's there. I look at the screen on this one and it's like, blink your eyes, tap the screen twice, swipe up, swipe down, and no.
Hello?
Your opinion's good. Because I can't use your face because you're going to put your freaking hair on. This phone is garbage. Hello?
You okay?
No, I hate this phone.
Well, what's wrong with the phone?
I can't get into it.
It's because you're a dumbass.
It's because I want you to put my freaking hair on.
It's because you're a dumbass.
I'm always going to put my damn hair on. Use the phone.
You're a dumbass.
Whatever. Like 15,000 notifications. 16 years later.
You having fun?
No.
What's wrong?
I don't know.
Why is this here?
Because I can't use the other piece of garbage.
You're not allowed this.
Well,
See, even the dog's upset. That
I don't care.
What's wrong with it?
She's got PTSD because I'm freaking
Not the
out
dog,
on the
you.
phone.
What's wrong with the phone?
I don't know. I can't even freaking. I don't know. I'm lost. I don't know.
I'm telling you, I'm so tired of this phone with LeeAnn. Trying to use the S22 Ultra. Oh my god, I swear. It's like getting hit in the head with a hammer repeatedly. Listening to her over and over again. I can't wait for it to be over. It's almost over. I'm just tired. I never thought a phone would bring me on the brink of divorce. I mean, what do you think of that fantastic S22 Ultra?
I hate it.
You're lying.
No.
I need you to tell the truth and stop lying.
I'm telling you the truth.
There is no possible way you can hate the Android phone over an iPhone.
There's every possible way that I hate this phone over
No, you're
the iPhone.
so full of shit.
I love Google. I hate Apple. But man, this is...
I don't get it.
I don't know. Why do things have to be so complicated? Why do I have to swipe down twice to adjust my brightness? What is that? So I have a question. How come when I get an email, right? Let's say at 7:01 an email comes through. And then I get another email at 7:05, and then I get another email at 8 o'clock, and I get dings each time. How come every time I get a ding, I'm still looking at the very first email that came in at 7:01 when the banner drops down to tell me there's a new one? It says, oh, you've got another email from the children's place. And then 2 in the afternoon, I still haven't looked at my notifications, and it dings, and I look at the banner that swings down. It's you have this children's place, so it looks like I've got 80 emails from children's place all day long. Like, why can't it tell me the newest one?
Just press the notification, it'll show them all.
But why doesn't it update
I have
with each
no
new
idea.
email that
Mine
comes through?
doesn't do that, so I don't understand.
Well, you probably are one of those notification tappers, right? Like,
Don't know.
but what if you ignore it?
I couldn't tell you.
Well,
'cause I
this
don't.
is annoying.
I'm sure this is a great phone. I'm sure that this is an amazing phone. I just don't think that I cope well with change, and I think through this experiment I learned that I would rather keep the monster that I know. Where a lot of my frustration stems from is the fact that I can't do things quickly and efficiently, and it was a new learning process. Notifications, I would get repeat notifications. I was getting delayed notifications because I still had to sort of have my iPhone around because of authentication codes that came through to an app on there that I wasn't able to transfer. I would notice that my iPhone would ding and I would wait and wait and wait and wait, and then 30 seconds later finally the Samsung would ding, and I was like, oh, all right, well, there's a bit of delay there. So I did notice that. I definitely am going to snag this phone to take photos and stuff like that. I'll grab it from Dan. It did such a good job with all of those. The pen was great. I had to do some paperwork and pop it out. So yeah, my really good experience with that was my dad needed some paperwork for us to sign. My printer wasn't working. I was up till, I don't know, midnight trying to get my printer fixed. And finally I decided I was going to use that S Pen to sign the paperwork and get it sent over to my dad so my dad could print it at his house. So it actually saved me at that point. So I wish that my iPhone would get an S Pen. I think that would be really cool. I don't want everybody to hate me and think that I'm super negative and stupid and everything else. I'm just comfortable.
We're back, and it's the final day after all of this time. LeeAnn's here with Dan. And man, I know everyone who's been watching this has seen their journals. I haven't seen them as of yet, but I can only imagine the shenanigans that went down over the last couple of days. Now, what people don't know is that this actually lasted a little bit longer than originally we planned. Some things came up. So your extended time with this phone, now that the last time we talked to you, you had a lot of problems unlocking it and some real issues. Has any of that changed in the second half of the time having it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely that screen protector. So the fingerprint sensor was a little bit improved, but not my favorite. But
okay.
I didn't feel like killing the phone as much as I did the first 3 days. We didn't get divorced.
Sure. No, but I did feel like killing you.
Yeah.
You took a lot of pictures and stuff, and I saw some videos on Twitter and whatnot. What did you think about the quality of the kind of the camera overall? Was it about what you expected, better, worse?
It was great. I mean, I didn't have to take like 50 million pictures to get like a good one. The lighting was good.
And we saw some. I think you did a karaoke night with it. The quality of that looked pretty good, even though it was on Twitter, which is a little compressed. But was there anything that surprised you about that aspect of the phone? Did it do better in maybe low light, or was it just kind of a better image than you thought you might have gotten ordinarily?
You were very impressed with the quality of the picture.
Yeah, better picture quality.
She was the very first picture that she took, because she does her nails and everything. She come straight to me and she was like, "Wow,
yeah,
this is cool."
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I really did like the.
and she's always liked her iPhone photos, but she was really.
Next time I do like pictures, I'll probably borrow his phone.
The operating system is way different, and I think that for someone like you who needs to use it for work and kind of get in and out of things, did you ever get used to the way Android works?
A little bit. I was annoyed because sometimes, like, to get into the apps or to search. You know, like on the iPhone, I would just swipe down and it brings that search bar up and I could type it in. Well, on the Android, I had to swipe up and over and
you just swiped up and
I don't know. It was just annoying. I was like, it was all backwards, so I had to do things twice to get in.
Sure.
She didn't like One UI. She did not like One UI.
Yeah,
now, I think if it was
just doesn't look.
If it was Pixel, I think it may have been a little different. One UI is a bit, with a lot of people. But
He
I
sort of
thought,
understands what I mean. I was just kind of like, this is like.
I figured she might actually like One UI because it's the similar shape icons and things, but no, she didn't like
Not
One
really.
UI.
You told me that when it was in a recording that I don't think we got captured, that you actually hate Apple, which is kind of an interesting thing. You hate Apple, you use iPhone. So in a lot of ways, you are kind of the perfect person for an experiment like this because you have every reason to want to leave Apple altogether. Is that true?
Yes, I want to. I wish that I could get my 1Password app to transfer all of my passwords. That's a big thing.
Typical iPhone user is tied into the ecosystem very deeply.
I hate them though.
They trap you into it, and it's hard to move away.
I worked for them. I worked my butt off for them. They decided they wanted to outsource my department and cost me a whole bunch of money. And I hate them. I would love to be away from my iPhone and my iPad and everything else, but that's where everything is.
So there's two things that most people will talk about when they talk about loving an iPhone. That is iMessage and FaceTime. Did you miss either one of those in any significant way?
FaceTime, big time.
You really missed it?
Big time. But that's just like, it was my brother's birthday today. And I guess he kept trying to call me and it wasn't working. My work friends and we all get together on FaceTime and, talk crap about everybody. And I couldn't even join any of those calls, which sucks because I really love talking crap about the boss. And then my cousin, she's like texting me on Facebook. I tried to iMessage you and it's going through the screen. What's wrong? Is your phone broken? Everybody's like freaking out. I'm literally getting messages like, what's wrong with your iMessage? Like, I'm doing an experiment, guys. Relax.
Right. In the future, let's say, for example, okay, I don't think you're going to switch now. I think it's pretty obvious. But there are some things that you said that I think you're going to find, people in the comments will say there already are solutions for. So if you could find those solutions, is there a time where you could see yourself going from an iPhone to Android?
If I could find good solutions, it's possible. But there'd have to be a lot of changes made. Well,
you guys are absolutely amazing. I can't thank you enough for taking the disruption really to your life and then recording it for everyone to watch. I can't wait to see what the comments section says.
I know your comments are going to hate me. It's fine. It's fine, bro. Okay.
I love you guys. So that's all that matters. As long as I am cool with you guys, that's all that matters. Everyone else that's watching, I've done this like 4 other times or 5. I've lost track. I'll leave a link for the playlist below and probably right here. We'll see you next time.